So welcome to the show, guys. Welcome to the Clone webinar. It's an illusion. Movie magic isn't just for Hollywood. I'm just getting over a cold, so excuse me if I'm sniffling a little bit or a little nasally. But I made it. I made it here today. Feeling a lot better, so that's good. We're not going to waste any time. We have a lot to get through. We have quite a bit. We have 105 slides to get through. So grab a snack, grab a drink, kick back, enjoy the show. The beginning of the presentation, the webinar is very text heavy. We're going to be reading a lot, not a whole lot, but the second half is video heavy. So if we can make it through the beginning, the really important stuff that kind of proves what we're talking about, then the second half is a lot of fun. So the whole thing is awesome though. Aaron, did you want to say anything before we get started?
Enjoy the webinar, but this is a really in-depth yeah, it's basically proving the reality of clones, and that not just clones but deep fake and mass, and like basically you can't trust anything you see on TV or the media or with politics or celebrities. Like basically anything in the mainstream, it's all a big show, is what this I think will prove. So yeah, just enjoy, guys. We did a lot of work on this, so
Here we go. All right. I had to throw this Q drop in there just to trigger everyone right off the bat. Let's see who's really going to stick around. You're watching the movie. So we're going to cover, first of all, what's interesting about this webinar is the proof is on Google for everything that we talk about. Google doesn't censor this stuff. Now they censor some of the nitty gritty details, but if you want to know about human cloning, the deepfake technology, holograms, Project Bluebeam, I mean, it's pretty readily available on Google, which I found surprising. So I kind of just wanted to test it and see how much we could find on Google before we had to dive into some deeper corners of the web, which we did have to do for certain parts, and books and things of that nature. But for anyone researching this stuff, I mean, this is one of the few topics that you can actually find on Google, and it does some due diligence. Cloning is real. There's patents. We're going to go over the patents. Holograms are here. We're going to go over that. We're being fooled with masks. Thanks, CIA. We're going to talk about that, and a deepfake reality, because that's what it's becoming. They're trying to use deepfake technology to create a new reality that we see. And that's why you can no longer trust your eyes, which you'll see why by the time we get to the end of it. And here is the Q drop from February 22nd, 2018. You are watching a movie. So that being said, let's go to the next one. Aaron, I'll let you read this slide. Publicly announced genetic events. So these are what we know have been announced.
Yeah, so these are all the ones that they have publicly announced that is an undisputable fact. So in 1890, a rabbit embryo was successfully transplanted to a foster mother rabbit's uterus. In 1944, human ova was fertilized in vitro, which means that an egg was artificially inseminated in a test tube. In 1952, Briggs and King and Indiana University cloned a frog, which is, so in 1952 is actually when they first cloned an animal, or at least when they first publicly announced it. Everyone thinks it was Dolly the sheep in the 90s. No. 1952, a frog. 1970s, Rand Corporation predicts that parahumans will be genetically created to do menial tasks in the future. In a totally different affair, Lord Rothschild, who is a physiologist who has studied genetics, warned that self-centered fanatics might set up cloning shops privately. He suggested to genetic scientists that a clone-controlling organization with worldwide jurisdiction to license cloning to be set up to protect the world from evil men who might want to clone people for evil purposes. He called his suggestion Commission for Genetical Control. So this is a very ironic statement.
Right.
As this webinar will prove.
And Dolly the sheep wasn't actually cloned in the 90s. That's just when it was announced. Also,
that's just when it was announced. Yeah.
I'll go ahead and read this, I guess. 1977, announcement of the first successful cloning of a person, which was done for someone very wealthy. This whole affair came under the strong attack by the establishment, obviously. The book giving the shrouded details came out in 1978. The author went into hiding, and our Congress had a parade of establishment research doctors testify at a hearing to debunk the book and to reassure the public that medical researchers were too concerned about ethics, or were too concerned about ethics to clone people. The author was convinced of the veracity of the cloning event, although the media establishment doctors claimed that the author wrote the book merely as fiction, which we know isn't true. 1980, twinning, bisection of an embryo, which is a form of cloning, was successfully done with horse fowls, sheep, and cattle had already been cloned in this fashion in the previous years. So 1980, obviously they tell us right there, sheep had already been cloned the previous years, which
Yeah.
the first one was obviously Dolly, which we'll cover in a little bit. 1981, mice are cloned and embryo transfer for cattle becomes a thriving business. 1983, a water buffalo embryo was successfully transplanted to foster a mother buffalo. 1984, a human embryo was successfully transplanted and born with a human foster mother. 1997, a successful human clone is publicly announced. Okay, so this is an article from May 8th, 2017. So this is some of the debate that was happening with the cloning patents, because there are patents out there, but the patents claim that they're cloning mammals. They never specifically state they're cloning humans. So this was kind of this was their argument, that they're trying to say that they have no proof that they're actually pro cloning humans. It's mammals, and people say, well, mammals are humans. Anyway, it's a whole debate, and they ended up basically the scope of the patent is defined that they claim that they are not cloning humans. This is what you'll find on the internet, when obviously they're trying to cover this up, but just to show you guys that this is a real debate and people have been talking about this for a long time. And if you want to add anything at any point, um, you can,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah,
Um,
not on this slide, but
right, right. And this also talks about a draft legislation that would outlaw patents on humans. They have to be on, at least in the public eye, they have to be morally and ethically in integrity, even though that's not the case at all.
right, right. They try to cover their tracks publicly, so they can always claim plausible deniability. Basically, they're always
Right.
trying to make sure they have plausible deniability.
So I don't know. A lot of people weren't around in the 90s. A lot of young people watching this, but a lot of people might remember the whole cloning debate that was being televised on C-SPAN, CNN. And this is President Bill Clinton proposing a human cloning ban. Presidential directive. This is a photo on the left, presidential directive on human cloning, where President Clinton announced today that he will send Congress a bill that would outlaw the cloning of humans. Clinton made the announcements immediately after he received a report that his National Bioethics Advisory Commission urging that the federal legislation should be enacted to prohibit anyone from attempting, whether in research or clinical setting, to create a child through some somatic cell nuclear transfer cloning. While such a ban would cover both public and private labs, it apparently would not limit biomedical research now underway. Now, what are they telling you without telling you? They're telling you that they're already doing all this stuff. They're
Yep.
already, I mean, they wouldn't have that much research and information to share unless it's already been done. And if they're not cloning humans already in the 90s, then why do they need to ban it? And
Right.
now, why would Clinton want to ban these clones? Well, let's take a look at this video that shows apparently a lifeless Bill Clinton uh, getting makeup put on. If you watch, completely lifeless. Now, I don't know the context of this video. Obviously, this says Bill Clinton in an MK Ultra like trance, getting makeup done from 1992, which is interesting, but it's also scary. We've seen a number of media personalities
Hmm.
in situations like this. Al Roker, Shaquille O'Neal. Um, you could probably name. There's more I'm forgetting. There's tons of them, but they seem to freeze like this
Yeah,
and
this
become
this is a common thing that has been caught with, like you just said, multiple media personalities. and politicians. So clearly there's something going on here where they just freeze lifelessly, and then they snap out of it somehow.
Right
So
now, and the interesting thing is this woman that's putting on the makeup. I mean, she clearly knows or is in the know on what's going on here. They snap them out. They just kind of pause them so they don't move while they do
they
their
probably have
makeup.
a trigger word to snap them out of it or something.
Oh yeah, the buzzwords that
Yeah.
Max Spears always talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay, patents. So I'm not going to read through these patents because it's boring, but this is a Google patent cloning an expression of biologically active human a galactose, whatever that is. So this is a patent that was applied for and granted in it was applied for in 1990. It was granted in 1994, and it expired apparently, or it does expire. No, 2015. I'm sorry, it expires in 2015. But obviously, we know that these don't actually expire; they just get rebranded and renamed. DNA cloning method. This was applied for in 1998 and again in 2002, and it was granted apparently in 2010 and expired in 2020. Now, I don't understand the whole expiration of the patents. I guess that just means anybody else can now steal your method and use it to clone as well, if that's the way I understand that, right, Aaron?
Yeah. I mean, it means your patent is no longer um,
Right.
a valid patent, so anyone else can, or it's no longer, yeah, anyone can, like you said, can steal it and do it, and it's
Right. So this is the
open
government's
source now,
this
basically.
is congress.gov. This is the US government's website. They have a transcription of a hearing on human cloning. And I have the website here. I'm not going to go to the website, and there's really no reason to, but if anyone wanted to um, go here and check this out, you can just screenshot this, type this website in, and it'll take you to this page where you can read the hearing about the human cloning debate. Um, just putting this in here as evidence, that's all. Okay, now here's the fun part. Clonaid.
Yeah.
This is the website. Aaron, I'll let you read the Wikipedia definition on Clonaid. You don't have to read the whole thing,
Okay.
but this is what Wikipedia says about Clonaid.
So it says Clonaid is an American-based human cloning organization registered as a company in the Bahamas. For one thing, why is it registered in the Bahamas? That's a question. Founded in 1997, it has philosophical ties with the UFO religion Raelism, which sees cloning as the first step in achieving immortality. On December 27, 2002, Clonaid's chief executive, Bridget Bosselier, claimed that a baby clone named Eve was born. Media coverage of the claim sparked serious criticism and ethical debate. It lasted more than a year. Florida attorney Bernard Siegel tried to appoint a special guardian for Eve and threatened to sue Clonaid because he was afraid that the child might be treated like a lab rat. Do you want me to read the rest, or is it?
No, you don't have to.
Okay. Yeah.
So guys, I mean, it's interesting that Wikipedia doesn't debunk it. Now, Clonaid, this is the website. Clonaid is the world's leading provider of reproductive human cloning services. Eve, and it talks about what Aaron just read. Clonaid can help you if you're sterile and have lost hope in having the child you dream of, a lost hope of having the child that you dream of. If you're homosexual and deeply desire a child who would carry your own genes. If you've just lost or are about to lose a beloved family member and you would like to see an identical twin of that person begin a new life. If you're HIV positive and want to have a child that would be your genetic twin without infecting either the baby or your partner with the virus, if you simply want to be cloned, whatever your reasons may be. And this gives you first of all, contact form, and it gives you the first steps, the process. Here's an overview of the process steps. We're not going to go through all that. I wonder if I can click on this website. This is going to be a test run. Let's see if I can go to this website real quick. Did that
Somebody
pull up?
said, sorry, real quick. Somebody in the chat said Bahamas, no U.S. taxes.
Right. Yeah, they
Yeah,
have
I would say more than that, probably no US regulation or laws. So if like they make cloning illegal in the
here's
US.
this is what I didn't get to it yet, but so it's registered in the Bahamas because it's illegal to be
Exactly.
registered as a cloning facility in the Americas. So,
So they
and
just do it in the Bahamas, right?
they have two facilities, allegedly one in the United States and one in Canada, which many people talk about. But here's the website. I'm gonna go to services real quick. Um, there was something I wanted to read on this website. I don't know where it's at though. Um, frequently asked questions. Is that it? History. I think we already read that. I'm just gonna go back because um we have a lot to get through. But either way, that's the website. You guys can go browse around that website and read about it yourself. It's
Yeah.
really
So this is a real company, real like this is real. This is not a joke somebody made. This is not like this is a real company and they claim they're actually cloning humans.
and for $50,000, that's what the page I was looking for. They talk about cloning your pets too. And for $50,000, you can actually have your pet cloned. Um,
Yeah.
you just have to fill out the form. Okay, so this is important. It's a lot to read, but it's important. So on December 27, 2002, Dr. Bridget Boslier, CEO of a company called Clonaid, gave a press conference in Hollywood, Florida. She stunned the world with the announcement that the first human clone had been born one day earlier. So I'm gonna skip that part just because it's boring. So adding to the controversy was another aspect of the situation, which was a major blow for every respectable scientist. Dr. Boslier has close ties to the Raelians, a group which in Canada has been granted status as a religion, allegedly. This cult has more than 80,000 followers worldwide. The founder and leader of the group, Claude Vorlhan, calls himself Rael, hence the name Raelians. He claims that in 1973, he had an encounter with extraterrestrials. The extraterrestrials told Rail that humans originate from clones produced by aliens tens of thousands of years ago and deeded on this planet. They also told him that the time had come to produce human clones again. As Rail told on CNN, the same day, the plan was to first impregnate women with their own clone and have the fetus be carried through a normal pregnancy, resulting in a normal birth. The clone children then would go through the normal childhood until they reached maturity at 18 years of age. In the second stage, in the biogenetic laboratories, human clones would be produced who had an accelerated growth rate, not only before, but also and especially after coming to life. Rail said he believes that eventually full grown human clones could be produced in the course of several hours. He added that such clones would be just like a vehicle in need of a driver because there was no way to produce a developed spirit, which we're going to get into. I guess I'll finish reading this. This aspect Rail considers to be an advantage because he envisions that in the future, the ones participating in this program could reach a kind of immortality. When a human reaches an old age and or is near death, he or she would order a clone. Once this clone is fully grown, his or her mind would be transferred to the clone, which we'll get into that stuff later, how they do that. When the clone reaches the stage that his or her body becomes obsolete, another clone would be produced and the mind would be transferred again. This is supposed to go on and on. Now that is coming from the CEO of Clonaid. So you understand where it's all stemming from. Aaron, you could read this part. This is from the book Conspiracies and Secret Societies.
Yep. So this is a book I actually own, and I found this in there. So, so the Raelians is a UFO cult that claims to be cloning people under the directive of the Elohim, the extraterrestrial creators of humans on Earth. That is their claim. In July 2001, the Raelian movement made headlines around the world when one of its members, Bridget Boslier, a 44-year-old scientist, with doctorates from universities in Dijon and Houston, announced that Clonaid, her team of 4 doctors and a technician, would soon produce the first human clone, defying opposition from President George W. Bush, Congress, Secretary of Health Tommy Thompson, and the Food and Drug Administration. Bosselier refused to disclose the location of Clonaid's 2 laboratories, other than to state that one was in the United States and the other abroad. Clonaid, established by Rail in 1997, is funded in part by $500,000 from an anonymous couple who want a child cloned from the DNA of their deceased 10-month-old son. So that's pretty interesting. Rail states that such cloning will demonstrate the methods employed by the Elohim and their creation of the human species.
Yeah, and
Very, very interesting stuff.
And it goes on to talk about the Elohim and the DNA and all that stuff, but we have a lot to get through, so we're going to go to the next slide. Okay, Clonaid, Michael Jackson. This is interesting. Here's an article. Michael Jackson cloned himself before death, ? Michael Jackson cloned his DNA before death. It has been claimed the king of pop passed away in June 2009 from acute propofol intoxication, but in the years leading up to his demise, he paid millions of dollars to European scientists engaged in cutting-edge genetic research to create replicas of himself. Michael's wish was that the replicas would be able to carry on his legacy after his passing, and he made safe deposits of his sperm in 3 different medical facilities across the world to be used if he died. And one of those facilities was Clonaid. And we're going to hear from the CEO of Clonaid on Michael Jackson. So this is from her. After on July 8th, the year's not on here. After fielding numerous inquiries about the possible cloning of Michael Jackson, Dr. Bridget Bosselier, head of Clonaid, today reaffirmed the company's policy of strictly respecting the privacy of each of its patients. Clonaid prides itself on never releasing the identity of the numerous individuals who have been cloned in the past 6 years, Bosselier said. Even if that policy had been at the cost of my reputation, it's important for us that the celebrities and other interested parties contacting us know they won't be betrayed. Bosselier expressed admiration for Michael Jackson as an artist and also commended his courage in expressing support for human cloning at a time when it was getting much negativity in the publicity in the press. Michael was a visionary who wasn't afraid to embrace new technology, she said. I'm glad his interest in cloning is being revealed now, since he was a pioneer in his views about back in 2002, and his fans ought to know about it. And she just goes on to talk about, well,
that's a pretty revealing quote right there.
Yeah.
Like, she's basically all but saying he was cloned.
Right.
Like, without saying.
She goes on to say, human cloning is still making headlines 6 years after the birth of the first cloned child. But even if the media still present it as being too controversial, the public is still much less afraid than it was initially. People have gotten used to the idea to the point where many see it as highly desirable. She said that although Clonaid team has received cloning requests from around the world, a surprisingly large number come from the Los Angeles, Hollywood area. Go figure. And we're going to get into the actors and the celebrities. Artists welcome our technology and have given us tremendous encouragement. Thanks to them, the public is getting more accustomed to the idea, and hopefully the bans will soon be removed. All right. And what did she say? She said, Clonaid's sister company, StemAid, has launched an anti-aging program using stem cells derived from clone embryos. Okay, guys, what's happening to your blood whenever you donate your blood? Does anybody know? Does anybody think about it? Where is it?
What we're told happens to it is not what actually happens to it.
Exactly. So this is, I'm not going to read all this, but more than 200,000 units of whole blood had to be thrown away after Americans donated 500,000 extra units in September and October. This is just from an article about what happens to your blood. So basically, donated blood, they had 300,000 or 200,000 units of blood that had to be thrown away. I guarantee they weren't thrown away, first of all, because we know what the elites use blood for, probably cloning, satanic rituals, you name it. Donated blood is discarded if it remains unused after 42 days. Where is it discarded to? They don't specify that. And if you
Yeah.
donate blood for the plasma is actually separated from your blood, and the blood is actually put back into your body. There's facilities that do this. It's a real thing. And they use the plasma to manufacture a wide range of pharmaceuticals. Now, this doesn't have anything to do with cloning, but it's really interesting because in the 1950s, plasma centers basically, well, here, just throughout the whole 50s, 60s, and 70s, anybody who, they weren't basically vetting anyone. They were just taking blood and removing the plasma from anyone, including HIV positive patients. And they were using the HIV positive plasma to manufacture these pharmaceuticals, which then stemmed the whole HIV epidemic from the pharmaceuticals that were being provided by Big Pharma. So that's where the AIDS outbreak came from. I'm sorry, I kind of butchered that and just blew through that, but I just thought I would add that slide. It's interesting just to consider what's happening to our blood. Most people don't really understand. And most of it, I forgot, I couldn't find the statistic, but I've heard it before. A large percentage of it actually, they only use a certain percentage of your blood for what they tell you they're going to use it for.
I think it's like 20% or something like that.
And then the majority of it is on paper sold to privately funded organizations that basically exist outside of the law.
That can do whatever they want.
Yeah, they have offshore accounts, they have headquarters in the Bahamas, whatever. So
what do you think? Come on, they're not just throwing all that away. We know they're not just.
And they have all these what's that diet now that where you send in your blood type diet, and then I forgot. Anyway, any organization that wants you to send them your blood, don't do it.
Right. Don't do it.
All right, Aaron, I'll let you read this one.
So the 4 types of clones. So there are actual clones, which is a person who's been grown from a test tube or implanted womb, which has the identical genetic makeup to another person. The genetic coding has reproduced, and a new person who's an identical twin is now in existence. Second type is synthetic people. So these are persons who look every bit as real as a real person, but simulate human beings. Certain tissue extracted from cattle are the starting point. This is part of the reason for all the cattle mutilations. So that's an interesting point. Process is an advancement of a process discovered in the late 50s. This 1959 experiment was reported in a book in 1968 called The Biological Time Bomb by Gordon Rattray Taylor. And here's I believe, a quote from that book. They extracted DNA from the cells of the khaki camphels and had injected it into the white pecans, thinking that just possibly the offspring of the latter might show some character derived from khaki camels. To their astonishment, the actual ducks they injected began to change. Their white feathers darkened and their necks began to take on the peculiar curve, which is the mark of the khaki camel. So the ducks began to change when they injected them with the cells from the other species, basically.
So we have actual clones, synthetic people,
organic robotoids.
You could read this one too.
Okay. So organic robotoids, this is an artificial life form that is created through processes that are totally different than cloning or synthetics. Organic robotoid technology is being made to make exact as possible copies of important people such as presidents and some of their staff. Organic robotoids are amazingly human-like, so human-like that it's hard for the scientists who have created them to get used to the idea that they are not humans. So that's how realistic these things are. Biological computer brains for the robotoids came as a result of research into holograms. The brain of the robotoid is almost all of the correct memory of the person reproduced, but the robotoid brain is really a computer made from biological material, which is programmed. They make a holographic copy of the brain memory and transfer that to the robotoid. So it's basically an organic robot is a way to think about it. It's a robot that just happens to be made out of completely organic material and very similar to a human, so much so you wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
And the movie Future World, which we'll talk about that later, the old movie Future World, literally discloses this in extreme detail. And they
Hmm.
basically, everything you just read, you can watch a movie about it. It's called Future World, and I recommend everybody go watch it if you're interested. Um, 4. So doubles. There's an ongoing program to find lookalikes for prominent people, which obviously we know everyone has doubles, as well as a program to create secret identical twins, which are separated at birth and never see each other. I have pictured here Max Spears and James Caspol, um, because there's, well, we're going to get into their testimony, but this is a good example of that, of the doubles. Brothers that were or separated at birth, whether identical or non-identical, still blood brothers. In the book Desert Shield and the New World Order, which we could not find this book anywhere, right, Aaron?
It's almost impossible to find. I couldn't even find a physical copy to buy on eBay or anything else. So we
If
we
you,
couldn't find this picture, unfortunately. But apparently this picture
yeah,
is,
if you
or these
look on
pictures were in the book. Sorry.
if you look on page 32, you'll see a picture of the original FDR who had a mole over his eyes, and then you will see a picture of the double of Roosevelt who they used, who had no mole and had different earlobes. Sound familiar with Biden?
Right.
Roosevelt may have died prior to when it was actually announced. And then there is a fifth type, chimeras and cryptids, which we're not going to get into, but many of the cryptids, if you guys were at our conference, if you listen to Jessica Jones and she remote views a lot of the cryptids, it turns out a large majority of them are actually grown in government labs, underground domes. So human chimeras and dogmen and all those weird cryptids we hear about, a lot of them, Nightmare Hall in the Dulce, New Mexico base, they talk about all these cryptids being grown. So it's not just people, it's creatures, and a lot of them have been cited publicly. And
And I think it's like some of them have been released on purpose, and some of them have escaped from the labs, which is
correct.
how their people saw them, because
Um,
they started out in the lab and then they escaped, whether on
right.
purpose or by accident.
James Casbolt said like the dogmen would actually be used as on missions in
Hmm.
secret programs. They would use the dogmen just like they would use a super soldier or whatever. They can be trained assassins. They can carry out the job of a human, but instead of being murdered by a person, you're killed by a dogman or kidnapped or
Right.
whatever. Um, Actually, his information on that, it's really, really scary. All right, here, I have a question. Everybody wants to argue about, well, everybody wants to know,
Yeah.
do clones have souls? I'll let you read the part on the right, Aaron, and I'll read the part on the left.
All right. So, do clones have souls? As referenced in the Phoenix Express journals, the clone mind has no ability to comprehend danger from the larger perspective. It can comprehend its own demise, but there's no soul connection to God. Thus, we have men in high places who are soulless and beyond the reach of normal reasoning process. A soul connected being will hesitate if, even for a split second, a clone is programmed to destroy that which is of God. It is part of the process. Soul trap devices are commonplace in cloning facilities. Even if it's just a soul fragment that gets trapped, it will still do the job.
And so obviously that bottom sentence contradicts the top three. We have multiple different types of clones, as you know.
Yeah.
So they're claiming in the Phoenix Express journals that the clones cannot have souls, but then there's other facilities and information that claims that, well, they can. And so we're going to get into some of that. So this here on the left is from the book Shining the Light, which you've heard us talk about a few times. It's channeled information. This is where he's asking, do they have souls? And he says that they have souls. Well, I would, or the souls have them. He said, I would rather say that they have a diminished soul, for that is an influence down there as well. And they have what is called a stranded, diminished spirit. Why would a spirit or soul occupy a body like that? Is the question that was asked. All life has some soul and some spirit, but the people who are generating these beings wish to have the minimum amount of soul and soul them. Don't you understand? And the minimum amount of spirit. That's part of the reason they use the crystal matrix and all of this business, which he talks about in the earlier part of the book, to deflect the natural spirit that would enter the body. At the base of the skull and at the very bottom of the spine, the coccyx are installed crystal devices All right, which tend to deflect the entrance of the spirit soul energy. Nevertheless, some gets in, but not much. So they have a crystal device that basically
Yeah.
it only allows some of the soul to enter, and we'll get in, they explain a little more here.
Just enough that it works, basically, like that it's a being
Right.
that can think and do things, but not enough that it can be a sovereign being that has a will of its own. Basically,
Right.
they got it down to a science to create these beings that are the perfect programmable beings that you could just program exactly what you want into them, and boom, that's what they are.
And I'm going to read a little more because it explains it a little better. But I thought the soul created its own body. Why on earth would it choose to have this experience? You have to remember these beings are created. How can we say, I know what you were saying, that all souls will choose, that before the form exists, there is a soul. But to put not too fine a point on it, before the soul exists, there is a spirit, then there is a soul as form is taking place. But these people are denied their natural growth cycle until they get to be 20 years old, and spirit and soul are greatly deflected. So the spirit may be present elsewhere, and it is constantly attempting to get inside the body, but it is constantly being deflected, and the soul does not have a chance to grow through the interaction with normal human experience or life experience. So here we have a situation in which the soul does not choose this experience. The spirit does not choose this experience. The spirit intends to have an upliftment of this being, but it is an uphill battle. It can be done, but it will take time, and essentially it will take at some point interference from outside forces to ensoul and inspirit these beings fully. Really interesting to consider what's actually happening here with these souls and how they're using these souls or clones. Um, okay. And then this is from the book Dark Fleet from Len Kasten.
Great
Talks
book.
about great book, yeah. So the ICC scientists, the interplanetary corporate conglomerate scientists, have the ability to transfer the soul, which is really what creates the consciousness from one body to the other. So they have the ability to transfer a soul from one body to the other. They can also keep it in an electromagnetic stasis chamber temporarily before inserting it into another body, which can be biologically created or cloned. Alters, you guys are all familiar with alters. Alters are frequently produced from individuals who have had their personality split by trauma. This is why alters do not have complete memories. The memories are stored on computers as small chips. Thus, these memory packages can be used to animate clones. So they can even install a chip into a clone as a memory package, and they can overlay memories too. So if somebody has memories, they can give you a new set of memories on top of what you have, and it gets really confusing. Donald Marshall talks about this, which we'll get into some of that in a little bit here. And yes, this book again, Secret Journey to Planet Serpo.
Another amazing book
Right.
by the same author, Len Kasten.
Aaron, do you want to read this one?
Sure.
Okay.
The whole thing.
You just read. You don't have to just read to about 3/4 of the way down. You'll know when to stop.
Okay. Without question, Karl Ernst Haushofer was the godfather of Nazi Germany. It was he who convinced Hitler that the Germans were a master race descended from the Aryan survivors of the Atlantean deluge. It was he who invoked the term Lebensraum, which means living space, to justify Germany's taking over the lands of adjacent quote unquote inferior countries without conscience. Japan, with its world-class imperial navy, would rule the seas to protect those territorial gains. The Green Dragons even supplied Hitler with a core army of 1 million cloned warriors, the fearsome, intrepid Wehrmacht. It seemed a foolproof plan. All the details had been meticulously worked out by the Black Dragons, and Karl Haushofer carried out his mission to perfection. However, there was one unpredictable element, and it proved to be the undoing of the entire operation. They were not able to control Adolf Hitler, who simply refused to be a good little puppet and ultimately turned out to be a madman. When he insisted on becoming the military commander-in-chief and undertook to fight two powerful adversaries on two fronts, while at the same time carrying out an insane, massive genocidal program, Yeah, and then it goes on.
Right. So
Yeah.
they're telling you here, for World War One, they supplied Hitler with a core army of 1 million cloned warriors. Now, this is just coming from this book. There's other people that talk about this as well. Take it all with a grain of salt. But if you read this book in context, it makes a lot of sense because they were working with the Green Dragons, who were essentially the reptilians, who were basically assisting Hitler and the Germans in their nefarious orders.
So I have
And
something to say about this too.
yeah,
So well, a couple things. So Hitler was a puppet. That's what everyone needs to understand. Like, the mainstream narrative is that Hitler was like, this was all Hitler's doing. Hitler was like the master orchestrator. No, Hitler was just a puppet. He was being controlled, just like we see all the politicians and all the people now, just like that. He had the cabal behind him, controlling him. He was just a front man, you know
right,
to
right.
and then so killing Hitler is not going to really, you could say it's not really going to do anything, but actually it might have a positive effect, because like this is stating, the whole undoing of the operation was Hitler himself, because he was so crazy. So it's a good thing actually no one killed him, because that actually might have saved the Nazis, and they might have actually ended up taking over. And in fact, Sean David Morton says that
Right.
he claims that I forget what insider he spoke to that told him that, because he was like, well, why didn't you guys go back and kill Hitler? And they're like, we did multiple times, and every time we did, the Nazis end up winning the war. They were like, literally the only reason they didn't is because of Hitler, because he was so insane.
He
he
foiled he
he
foiled their
foiled their
plan.
own plans.
Yeah. And
So there you go.
right, which is an entire rabbit hole. I mean,
Yeah, they said they would go back and kill him, and then every time, this gets in a different rabbit hole, obviously, of time travel, but they would travel back in time, kill Hitler, and they said each time they did it, a different person would take over. So one time Himmler took over and then they won. One time someone else took over and they won. And then one time he said no one took over and they still won.
yeah.
So literally supposedly the only reason they didn't is because of Hitler's own insanity and stupidity.
Right. Well, another example of them shooting themselves in the foot.
Right.
So this movie talks about this is the Lucifer complex. It just came into my awareness a couple weeks ago. I didn't want to watch it because of the name, but then I read the description and I watched it, even though it had like a 2 out of 10 rating. An intelligent agent discovers a Nazi plot to revive the Third Reich using clones. This movie was made in 1978, and there's a picture, an image from the movie there of him inside of the cloning facility that he discovers. In my personal opinion, this is direct disclosure of what was actually happening. It's a horrible movie. It's boring. It's hard to sit through, but if you're watching it knowing that this was real, it makes it bearable. And I watched it for research purposes only. And I recommend it if you really want to know kind of how this stuff played out and what went down. Obviously, it's a movie, but still worth considering, as we know.
A lot of disclosure.
All right, here we go. So this is from Shining the Light.
The first Shining the Light book. Just
Yeah.
caveat. There's 7 of those books. So this is the first book.
I'll let you read the first part, Aaron, and I'll read the second part.
All right. So, oh yeah, I got to start then. But there's a third category in terms of genetically created subterranean beings who practically never come to the surface. There are at least 150,000. They would, for all intents and purposes, be perceived as slaves, but they do not understand surface life or the life of the heart, as they are not allowed to develop that way. So they would be what the military has always desired as a perfect soldier, solely on the basis of their skills. Yet if the militaries on the surface had these people, they would not like them because they have no heart. They would not commit an act of bravery selflessly. They might be wonderful soldiers, but they are individuals always and only. Teamwork is a struggle for them because they have never been allowed to develop bonds of friendship or love.
And then the question is asked, these are clones. And he said, I'd rather not call them clones because they are not all the same. They look different. And he says, but they were made genetically in a test tube rather than being born from a womb. And that's when he says, well, that's an oversimplification. They were not created in a test tube. They may initially be separated, sperm and eggs and so on, in a test tube, but the matrix in which they are grown is not a test tube at all. It's a solar amplified chamber in which they grow, meaning amplified by an artificial sun, and they are crystal balanced, meaning in this case attuned through the use of artificially created crystals. That's part of the reason they don't have much of a heart development. The crystals are artificial, they're tuned specifically for certain skills rather than for natural heart occupations. The artificial chamber is considerably bigger than a woman's body. The person grows in a chamber in liquid. The liquid is not exactly water. If I were to have to compare it to a fluid that is known on the surface of the earth, it would just be a little heavier, elementally referring to the periodic table here, than heavy water. With this pseudo water-like matrix, within this pseudo water-like matrix grow these male beings, no female beings, not one. There's a reason for that. It's not just preference. The reason is that no female being anywhere in all the universe can be programmed solely and completely without love. Male beings can have this for a time, though they will constantly be searching for the missing parts of themselves. If they are sufficiently disciplined, they will not spend much time doing that. So that is how they are grown. Unlike a normal birth, when you have a delivery of a child, these beings are grown under high-speed techniques, so it doesn't take years and years. They are grown and essentially hatched, as it were, are brought out of the chamber at a surface maturity, meaning the surface of the planet. If you were to look at a being, you would say he is about 20 years old. This way, they avoid having to deal with the complications of childhood, although it takes a good 6 months to get them through learning on how to go to the bathroom for themselves and learning how to eat and so on. And the next part, I'm not going to read, but it talks about created beings are born with active aggressive hormones. So these are already aggressive men, which are used for battle and super soldiers intentionally. It's
Yeah, they
really,
got it down to a science.
yeah, really interesting stuff.
Yeah, they make sure they are the perfect,
Mhm.
slave soldiers essentially that can do their bidding.
Okay, and then you can read this one, Aaron. This is from the Ascension Mysteries.
Yeah, so this book is amazing, by the way. Whether you like David Wilcock or not, this book is amazing. I don't care what anyone says. All right. This is a quote. One day, a friend of mine came up. So this is David Wilcock saying this. One day, a friend of mine came up to me and said, I absolutely had to read this book he found in the library. It was by Francis Crick, one of the scientists who had discovered the DNA molecule, which had all the codes for life. With a single piece of the right DNA, you could clone a human being.
Right.
So that's a pretty big
and
statement.
Clonate has figured that out, and Kid Buu actually talks about that, exactly which part of the piece of the DNA you need, and they figured that out, which we'll get into that in a little bit. All right, coming up, whistleblowers. All right, this is the fun part. This is where it starts getting fun. You can read this one, Aaron.
So this is Dr. Astrid Stuckelberger. So she is a scientist, an author, public speaker, international health expert, and she actually worked at the WHO for a large part of her career. So she's a WHO whistleblower, and she claims that global leaders at the WHO, Gavi, etc., want to exterminate the human genome, and that the Bill Gates we now know is either a clone or an impersonator. She publicly said that.
That's a pretty huge statement from somebody who works for the World Health Organization, not some woo person we're interviewing on our podcast.
Right. This is a very bona fide. That's a big name saying that. Yeah.
You can read this one too if you want, and I'll do the next couple.
Another big name. Yeah. So Dr. Peter Beater, and yeah, it's a funny name. Yeah. So he was appointed by JFK to serve as general counsel for the Export-Import Bank of the United States from 1961 to 67. So here's a quote from him. Clones of all kinds of animals have been produced successfully in the laboratory, but that is not what bothers people. In the recent past, it has been claimed that human clones are also possible and that some may already be in existence. These last claims about human clones have been ridiculed, denied, and suppressed by all kinds of officials. The reason is that the idea of duplicate human beings impinges upon a super secret realm of intelligence activities by both Russia and the United States. That's an actual quote from him.
And yeah, there you go. Another big quote. Okay, Admiral Rico Boda, you guys may know him from William Tompkins' testimony. As a matter of fact, that's the only reason we know about this guy and what was going on during World War II with the Navy spies in Germany, bringing back information to the United States Navy about what the Germans were doing as far as the UFO technology and the crazy things that they were doing. They were already off planet, basically, and we were still on the ground over here. But these are quotes from Admiral Rico Boda to William Tompkins. The SS is convinced that they will win the European war with their advanced weapons and hundreds of thousands of some sort of cloned stormtroopers. Now, that was information that came to William Tompkins in the 40s. And we just read what the information from Len Kathman's book, talking about the Green Dragon Society providing the World War I army, or the Germans, with an army of clone troopers. So there you go. This corroborating testimony.
Yep.
And sir, in the military over there, controlling minds is extensive and has provided the cloning of millions of soldiers who have no fear in battle. And that aligns with what I just read you from Shining the Light, how these people they would not be good. They wouldn't like them on the surface because they don't have a heart, but they have no fear as well. These are real quotes. Take it or leave it. George Green. So we're not going to read this. We're actually going to play you a couple of videos from George Green.
But you can pause it and read it if you want.
Yes, this is basically a transcription of what he says in the video. So we'll go ahead and play these videos.
Oh, now you know going about cloning techniques. Since 1938, they've been making clone people. There's 8 countries making clones. I have a doctor friend that will treat the clones.
Where do you get your information?
I get it from some of the people that are willing to come forth, and they talk to me because they hope I'll put the information out, because they always got 2 people following them and they need to be killed. If I start talking about cloning too much, the people that get involved into that, you disappear on. So I don't go into too many more details, but there is information that's available, and it's more and more that's coming online. I just told you, go into the movie.
Okay, Voice from Brazil.
Yeah, and you'll see the whole technique on what they show it to you in different places, so you can imagine what's going on.
Okay, so.
No, let's go to the next step, because this is the most important part.
All right.
If your physical reality that you have, based on this physical life that you have, this dream, is made up of the experiences that is impregnated on your body and in your mind, consciously, right?
Mhm.
Your soul memory is another thing. It goes back whatever time that you elected to be in this incarnation for whatever reason. And let's show you the division on this thing. Since the body is very physical, and we just got you making a physical being in a few months, the spare parts. They said, now we've got the perfect deal. How can we have that work better? Well, if you go to the hospital today and get an encephalograph, what's that? That's the memory in your conscious mind. It's on the CD. Let's download it on this being. Now we got a walking, talking duplicate that has the total memory that you have, because we just took it off of your own mind.
Okay, it's like Blade Runner, the android.
Exactly.
Mhm.
The only thing is that it's like this DVD recorder. Sometimes you have glitches in it, so you have to have them tuned up occasionally or redone. And so we take them to Camp David, or there's a wing at Bethesda Hospital. And just tell you, if you go down there and check, you'll find the nurses, if they're willing to come forth, they'll tell you they work on those people, and they call them the others. I thought it was interesting. They're people. Remember, these people can think and act, but they don't have soul. That's also prophesized.
Right, that's true. That's true.
Now we have another agenda that's going on, so you have to be careful with this. There are many extraterrestrials that would like to be in on the game right now, so they can sometimes will come into these physical beings that we've made to manipulate.
I see.
So now you have a combination effort that you have to look at and discernment. You have to discern what the game is. Well, just figure that most of the leaders we have in the world have been bought and paid for or created to think a certain way in the world.
All right. And he mentioned the movie Boys from Brazil, which are Aaron, by the way, can you look at the chat and make sure everyone could hear that video? Okay.
Yeah, 1 sec. No one's saying anything about it, so hopefully everyone could hear it. Yeah, sorry about the audio, guys. That's literally the loudest we can make it.
I might be able to bring the speaker right up to the microphone. So every
Okay,
video
yeah, try to do that.
every video that we play is going to be a different volume, because It's just coming from different sources. So
Yeah.
I can bring it closer and hopefully it'll get louder for the next one. But hopefully you guys could hear that. But the movie Boys from Brazil, if you want to watch it, it's all about them cloning Hitler. And it shows you the exact process down to the science of how they're cloning humans in that movie. And according to George Green, that movie is direct disclosure of how they were cloning people, at least back then.
Yeah. Great movie.
Yeah, I won't bring that closer until I play a video. Okay, so I'm going to play this other clip from George Green, just because. Any feedback from the chat yet about the volume, Aaron?
So I could hear it. All is clear. Thank you. So yeah, sounds like people can hear it.
Okay, good. All right, I'm gonna play another clip from George Green, just because it's worth it. It's worth hearing what these people have to say. Oops, go back.
You guys can rent. If you go to Disney World, for instance, down there in the Haunted Mansion, you see the hologram, right? Or you know how to make a hologram. Well, our scientists have learned how to make people. They call them synthetics. Are you familiar with those?
We just interviewed John Lear, and he was talking about being in an audience in which they were given a lecture by a guy that they thought was real and found out later he was a hologram.
But it's a synthetic. The synthetics, when you touch their skin, it feels like plastic almost. That's the latest technique. The old techniques, if you guys can rent a video of the Boys from Brazil, rent it, because in it, it gives you the exact way how our government's been making people.
Really?
Yeah,
Well,
and the Soviets had a different method called,
Making people, meaning temporary people,
no, talking rooms.
meaning through genetics. You're not talking about that.
Well, let me tell you, the movie shows it, but I'll share it with you right now. All I need to do is take 2 cells off of your body, yours.
Mhm.
And give them a small electrical charge. I'm just no, act like a fertilized egg. If I got a fertilized egg, all I need is a receiver in order to make it. So they were hypnotizing women, said they were being invaded by aliens. And the fetus starts growing, right? Needs food. Well, they can use cows and sheep too. That's again a food source. That's all we need. After about 14 weeks, all of a sudden that fetus is gone because they've learned to take. That's when the fetus starts developing its own blood supply. Then they've used the pituitary hormone extract that they had, which accelerates the being that grows. And the original technology was given to our government by the Greys. Now, the reason was that our scientists are all excited because we have spare parts. If you need a heart or a liver or anything, you won't have any rejection. It's your own DNA, right?
Okay, because theoretically, if we have overpopulation, we don't need more people, right?
But the so-called elite are selecting on who they want to have around anyway. So we want to keep people going as long as we can. I talked to the doctor that was working on regeneration of Castro, for instance,
Right.
on the DNA sequencing. And that they're just learning about this.
Well, my understanding is that a lot of presidents have already been replaced.
That's right.
Yeah,
I don't think
they're walking around there. They look old, but they basically, some of the people are.
I'll just
second,
give you
third,
something.
colonies.
I'll give you something to ponder. Get some old videos of George Bush, when he first came into office. Look at the person and listen to him speak. Look at his actions and listen to his everything that's there. Now, it's a lot easier to put somebody out in front to act as even Bush did. He had somebody else that was up there acting like he doesn't look like it. Even Hitler had he had his stand. In fact, his stand-in was the one that they found in the ground over in Germany. I mean, Hitler and Eva and the dog and 14 other people got aboard a plane and flew down to Barcelona, Spain. You were aware of that, and then ended up in Antarctica or in Swaziland, and then died a few years ago in Brazil.
That's what we heard. That's what we
I
heard.
have all the documents from our own government.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a contact.
And Stalin Stalin after they tried to burn the body and he got the body back. He said, we're in the different years and the testicles were different and everything else. So they knew it wasn't Hitler.
But is it a clone or not?
Oh, now going by cloning techniques. But since 1938, they've been making.
All right. And we heard that part already. So, I mean, it's pretty mind-blowing testimony, in my opinion. It's pretty incredible. The whole interview with him is great. I recommend it. You can go find it on Project Camelot website, George Green, if you want to hear everything. Aaron, did you want to chime in on that?
No, that's I mean, yeah, he pretty much lays it out.
All right, James Casbolt. Are you guys familiar with him? Anybody? Anybody? Him and Max Spears were big whistleblowers back in the early 2000s. They
Well,
both
mid
mid, yeah, I
to like
guess
the mid to
mid
teens,
2000s, yeah.
teens, like 20 to like 2016-ish. Yeah.
But either way, they were both on Project Camelot a few times, and they have incredible testimonies as well, talking about Project Mannequin, Project Oak Tree, and Project Ibis, which we're going to tell you guys what those are. Project Mannequin. So this is from James Casbolt's book, which I have not read. I didn't even know he had a book until we were researching this, but I have to read it now after reading this. My name is James Michael Casbolt. The following is my life testimony. I was born in London, 1976. I was chosen for an intelligence agency mind control and genetic enhancement program before my birth and was born into the program known as Project Mannequin. This project is one of the most secret and classified projects in this country and is the very first ever book written about it. Project Mannequin is a mind control and genetic manipulation program run by the National Security Agency. Although the NSA is officially the United States government, they run many covert black projects in many countries around the world. The NSA is fast becoming the world's most powerful secret service and is currently taking over much of the global intelligence apparatus. Project Mannequin was started in 1972 and is still being run from a 6-level underground facility beneath the small town of Peasmore in Berkshire. I think that's London or the UK. A few miles from where I grew up. This underground base is so secret that the local residents of Peasmore are not even aware it exists. Almost all the civilian guinea pigs have not volunteered and have been used against their wills. I was sold into the project. Many of the civilians have also been used in the project from young children. The reason to create programmed sleeper agents using the sophisticated electronic hardware-based hypnosis, these individuals are programmed by the NSA to carry out future tasks set by the NSA and become hitmen as adults. Sleepers are people who carry out a huge variety of pre-programmed tasks with sometimes little awareness of medical procedures in Project Mannequin because of advanced memory eraser techniques. A large part of the project focuses on creating espionage agents and assassins who have undergone genetic enhancements, which will be discussed in greater detail in the book. Project Mannequin is actually a type of school I grew up in. I have been trained since the age of 5 at the LA 499 and other military bases around the UK. I carried out my first covert assassination for the intelligence community when I was 16 years old in Brighton. This may sound unbelievable to many people, but a vast amount of evidence will be presented in this book. Most people do not know what the intelligence community actually is. Forget about the James Bond movies. Much of the Secret Service apparatus in the UK and US is an occult pedophile network run by corrupt factions of the Illuminati, degrees of Freemasonry, 33rd degree and above. So, I mean, I don't know what type of information he brings forward in that book, but I have listened to him in interviews. It's mind-blowing stuff, very compelling. Now, Max Spears claims he's been cloned, and he also claims to be a part of Project Mannequin, Project Oak Tree, and Project Ibis, which I'll let Aaron tell you about in this slide.
All right. So Max Spears. So these are his claims about clones. So he says it used to take them a few days to clone a human being. Now they can clone a being in an hour. And by now that very well could be even less time, I would not doubt. So the technology, they keep perfecting it more and more. Claims there are many clones of himself around. So Max would say people would constantly come up and tell him that they saw him in different places around the world. They're like, wait, weren't you just in the city? And he's like, no. So people would constantly tell him they saw him. So they're probably seeing his clones. Dolly Parton was the first public human clone experiment. Dolly the sheep was named after Dolly Parton. That's why they called the sheep Dolly. And which they announced in the mid 90s, but that happened way before that. Because as we know, by the time they announced something, it probably happened decades.
Well,
prior.
they were forced to announce.
They were
Dolly
forced
Sheep.
to announce it.
Yeah.
Right. That's the only reason they even announced it, because they were forced to, and of course they just announced, oh yeah, we cloned a sheep, and then nothing after that. It just goes quiet after that. Like, oh yeah, we just stopped at a sheep,
All right.
Yeah, we're done. Yeah. Right. So this is a quote from Max Spears. Project Oak Tree is connected to Project Ibis, and there is my connection to James Casbolt. 42 children were selected from mothers that were born in the 1950s. So their children would then be born between 1972 and 1978, which Max and James were both born right in that window.
And they both have a bunch of memories of being in the same facilities together.
Mhm.
By the end of them getting their memories back, they both determined that they were both basically brothers of this program, Project Ibis, or Oak Tree, which turned into Ibis. But they also were put through Project Mannequin as well. So they were just used in the same circles and they're both, I think, Rockefellers or Rothschilds. Which one? I forgot.
Rothschild, or
Rothschilds.
yeah, I think Rothschild.
Yeah, they're Rothschilds.
Well, Max says he's in the same bloodline as the Bushes.
The Bushes, and then and the Rothschilds. Actually, they both, but they used their bloodline for a reason for these
Right.
for these programs. So, and what's interesting about Max said there's clones of him running around. Susan Walter, who was at our conference, she had a vendor booth. She was in California, and I got an email from her, and she said, "Hey, it was good seeing you this weekend." Blah blah blah. She sent me this whole thing. I know Susan. We've known each other. We've met in person. She would not mistake me for someone else. And I was like, "I was not in California. What are you talking about?" And she's like, "Yeah, right. You're lying." And I'm like, "No." And she's like, "I literally had a conversation with you on the elevator at the hotel where this conference was or whatever." And I said, "It couldn't have been me. There's no way." She's like, "No, it was you." Like, and she's adamant that she did. And I've never went to that conference. So,
Yeah,
and
that's interesting.
I don't know. I think we all have clones running around, especially if we're in the programs.
Was it, could it have been a clone, or could it have been a Mandela effect, as we know?
Mandela effect, doppelgangers, don't know. So
Or
here we're gonna
somebody that looks exactly like you. Yeah.
we're gonna play a clip from Max Spears now. Let me go to the timestamp here.
What was it for? Yeah, 43:57.
Yeah, I gotta. I'll just start here.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, like Mengele, Joseph Mengele. He should be 120 years old now. He lives in New York, and he looks like he's 50 years old, continuing his work. Have you seen him? No, I don't even like thinking about it. Okay, and he's the one who did twinning stuff with me. How do they do that? What is the technology about? What is what? The technology of age regression. Oh, how does it? Well, I'm not a scientist. I would guess. I would hazard a guess that the original, so your core DNA, always stays the same. So it has all the imprints inside it of what you looked like when you were 10, what you looked like when you were 20. So they go inside of there, and then they attach to a particular age there, and then they manifest or create that or recreate that part. Like if you lose a limb, the limb isn't really gone. Yes, so there's a holographic, so then they can just regrow it that way. Now they can clone. It used to take them, a day or 2 or 3, 4 days to clone a human being. Now they can clone another being in an hour. There's many clones of me around. My girlfriend had seen multiple clones of me before in different countries. Yeah, also messing around in a hotel. When I was staying in a hotel, I had left to go and do something, and she said, she looked over and she's like, "Max," she's pointing over to me, and this guy didn't turn his head around, but it was identical to me, and he slipped around there. She ran after him and looked for him. He'd gone. It's done to confuse and cause chaos. Somebody said to me the other day, weren't you in St. Louis in America like a week ago? I saw you. No, I wasn't. But this happens to me all the time.
For sure, you're attacked.
Yes, very much. I have to do a lot of work to not get harmed. But also, I'm a guardian to a number of people too. So, because I came down here, it's not just that I came down here to take care of certain people as well. I knew who they were when I've known who they've been for some time, so I know who they are and where they are and how to do it. I don't how do I do it? It's very difficult to explain because I just know. I just know how to do it. I do a lot of visualization exercises. I do
Okay.
I was like, where'd you go?
Yeah, sorry. Pee break. Anyway, that's just him talking about his clones, but he also talks about later about Dolly Parton, like we already told you in Dolly the Sheep. All right, so this is the fun part. Is Ryan Gosling a clone? Apparently, there's a lot of information that Max Spears and Ryan Gosling was also part of Project Oak Tree, Project Ibis. And we did an episode with Dr. Charnel where we break this down in detail on all the connections. It'll blow your mind. Ryan Gosling isn't who you think he is. I think he's also one of these. I think he is, in my opinion, also part of Project Mannequin. These are just some similarities of how he looks very similar to Max and even James Casbolt.
Yeah. Hey, Tyler, real quick.
Yeah.
So whoever Count Coop is in the chat said Ryan Gosling said in an interview he has been obsessed with the concept of an army of children. Various things he says sound and seem like dark project stuff like Max talks about. So there you go.
Perfect. Yeah, and so here we go. These are movies that Ryan Gosling starred in. For one, he played what was it, Lars and the
Lars and the Real Girl.
So he's falls in love with a doll, a mannequin. Interesting nod to Project Mannequin. The new Barbie movie, he plays a Ken doll. He plays Ken, a doll. The movie Blade Runner, he plays a clone. And The Gray Man, which is the most interesting one, it's the most recent one. Not the most recent one, but it's very recent. I think Barbie is his most recent movie. But The Gray Man, apparently, so Max Spears, before he was killed, was given a movie script. Max Spears was supposed to be the star of this movie, The Gray Man. He was killed. The movie didn't get made. Years later, it gets made, but instead of Max Spears, they have Ryan Gosling. Now, in the movie, if you know Max Spears' testimony inside and out, in the movie, there's a million nods to Max Spears. Some of them are so obvious it's laughable. But
yeah,
there is a direct connection here, and that is an entire rabbit hole. Like I said, we break it down in this episode with Dr. Charnel, episode 193, Montauk Memories and the Max Spears connections. We talk about cloning, Project Mannequin, and more. She has done her research, and she brings some very compelling information forward about the Ryan Gosling connection to Max Spears.
Yeah, it was like even the date that movie was released had a connection to Max Spears.
It was like the same day that he died.
That's right. That's what it was. It was the same day he died is the day that movie was released. So at a certain point, you just got to be like, all right.
Yeah, and
it's just not a coincidence.
Max Spears used to talk about his code word or being Sunshine or something, and they nickname Ryan Gosling in the movie Sunshine, and they reference it a couple times, and there's just a whole bunch of connections. There's also, you guys, I highly recommend watching this episode. We don't have enough time to go through all of it now, but any feedback from the chat, Aaron, before we keep going?
No. Well, hold on. Wonder if this explains why so many people look like me. been experienced this since the end of the 20th century. Yeah. So I'm sure a lot of us have clones out there.
Oh yeah, I think I'm pretty sure I do. I mean,
Yep.
I with a lot of my memories and stuff that's come through sessions that I've never shared before. I even think I know one of my clone ID numbers, possibly. I don't talk about it because it's insane, but maybe, never know.
Not to our audience, most of our
Right.
audience.
I know it just feels silly whenever, like, it's okay for me to interview somebody and listen to their testimony, but when it comes out of my mouth, it sounds insane. It's just
I get it. I
it's
get
hard to
that.
explain.
Yeah.
All right, Donald Marshall. You want to read this one, Aaron?
Sure. So this guy is like a huge clone whistleblower. He's still out there, I believe, right? Giving interviews and stuff. So Donald Marshall talks about cloning centers and how celebrities who want to escape from attending them night after night, or who are no longer useful to the Illuminati, are given brain quote unquote brain aneurysms, because they're artificially induced. They're not natural brain aneurysms. He claims that the original human experiences everything that your clone experiences. That is what he claims. So he claims that the clone of him would be tortured and all this stuff, and he would literally physically experience everything his clone was experiencing, which is horrible. But that just shows you, just imagine. So, we can imagine how they control politicians and control people by either bribing them or threatening them, right? Or doing things like that. But they could literally have a clone of somebody and torture the clone. They don't even have to torture the actual person. They can torture the clone in an underground base somewhere, and they will physically, because you're connected to your clone in that way, feel it. So they can literally, like, imagine,
Well, that's where
what control that gives them over whoever they want. They can just be like, okay, I'll just keep torturing your clone until you do what I say, until you do what I want you to do.
Well, that's where phantom pains come from, according to some of these whistleblowers.
Yeah. There you go. So, and then I just searched around. I'm like, I wonder how many celebrities have had brain aneurysms, and there's a lot more than just this. But here's a list of a whole bunch of celebrities that have had brain aneurysms. And Bruce Willis has aphasia, which is a neurological condition that many brain aneurysm survivors suffer from. So, just
Right. So Tila Tequila, Whitney Houston, Neil Young, Quincy Jones, Bret Michaels, Sharon Stone, Dr. Dre. It goes on and on.
right.
On the right here is apparently Donald Marshall on Megadeth's album cover being tortured.
Yeah, he claims that that's a picture of him on that Megadeth album cover. He says that is our picture of his clone, or him, of his clone being tortured. Yeah, he claims that's him.
And Megadeth, interestingly enough, if you know anything about them, Dave Mustaine, like, he is a conspiracy theorist. I mean, they write about this shit all the time. If you listen to their lyrics, it's all anti-government. They talk about clones, they talk about ETs, Area 51, Hangar 18, all the corruption. I mean, that's what they covered, the dystopian future, like all this stuff. So whatever role Megadeth is playing in all of this, it's really interesting.
Right.
So this is a clip from Donald Marshall. Really interesting stuff here.
And there's a Tila Tequila tweet. That's an actual tweet from her.
Well, he's going to talk about Tila Tequila in this clip, but this is a tweet from a tweet. And this is a tweet from Tila Tequila. Hillary Clinton is a clone. The real one got killed a long time ago. Fuck. I hope I'm not next. Oh wait, they already killed me in 2012.
So is she saying she is a clone?
Yeah, like the original one was killed in 2012.
He's literally saying I'm not even the original.
So, and apparently Hillary was killed, and same with Joe Biden too.
I guarantee, that's Hillary. I guarantee you.
Let's play this video from Donald Marshall.
Client there, they will beat the hell out of your clone, and it hurts just like real life, right? Like this, and they can turn it up to the pain thresholds on a remote control. They have everything down, and people are scared to talk about this because of the lizard aspect, and the fact they can just keep cloning you and torturing you and torturing you and torturing you. New body, new body, new body, because they make multiples of people. Some people are grown in the tank with deformities, and they just scrap those and throw them in the chipper. But the other ones, they keep them for backup bodies until they wear out the first one. Sex-wise, you know, I'm not trying to be vulgar or anything. They do a lot of vulgar stuff there. They can also, if they apply a constant electronic current to your clone, you will have an aneurysm. If you're younger, it'll take a little bit longer with the electric current, but you will have an aneurysm. And that's what happened to Tila Tequila. She doesn't want to say that though. The thing is, Tila Tequila was threatened not to talk about it. She was helping me for a minute. Are you familiar with Tila Tequila?
I've had her on the show, and in fact, I was just discussing her this morning with James Wright, who's exposing the Freemasons, and he said that he wanted to meet up with her and compare war stories and stuff like that. So I just introduced them this morning, as it turns out.
Well, Tila has a clone running at the clone center, and she has to, well, she pretty much sold it out for her shot at love thing. She doesn't want me to discuss the nefarious deeds that she's done at the cloning station, including to me. And, well, I'm not really going to, because that's her business and all right, but
So anyway, there you have it. This is a perfect segue into our next segment, celebrity cloning conspiracies. Guys, this is, first of all, the topic of cloning is an endless rabbit hole. Like we're basically touching the tip of the iceberg. Like you can go so far down this rabbit hole. There's so much to find. There are so many people talking about being cloned and cloning centers. It's impossible to include it all. I'm sure there's people watching this right now wondering why we're forgetting certain things. There's just too much. But
Right.
If there's too much, I mean, there is way more than too much as far as celebrities go. And we're going to get into that. Okay, Ed Sheeran. So first of all, I'm going to read you this quick little article that somebody wrote about A-list celebrity cloning and Ed Sheeran. He goes, "What if you were a body double for a nobody? A-list celebs began employing clones many years ago. It's the only way to deal with the demands of their time. They can't be doing photo shoots, appearing on talk shows, dropping albums, and maintaining a strong Instagram presence in the same 24-hour day that ordinary mortals are tied to. So clones. Some clones lead fantastic lives. Beyonce has one whose sole job is to get her picture taken on yachts. Yara Shahidi's clone is going to Harvard with her. Channing Tatum's clone loves showing up at bachelorette parties and freaking everyone out. Cardi B's clone is a personal trainer in preparation for debuting Cardi's post-baby body. However, there is a dark side. Justin Bieber's clone is sick of getting tattoos. Some conspiracy theorists picked up on Melania's clone and that she had to go into hiding. Anderson Cooper and Andy Cohen's clones hate each other, but they have to hang out all the time. Only celebrities who really need clones should get them, and yet there are those who overestimate their stature and the desire for their presence and hire a clone who ends up with little to do. Case in point, Ed Sheeran. Are there many people who want to see? Are there that many people who want to see Ed Sheeran around?
Of course not.
Of course not. Nevertheless, Ed saw his celebrity buddies and their clones and had to have one. This is the story of that clone, his other Ed. But and there's a whole article about it. So Ed Sheeran in 2017 gets hit by a car, gets rushed to the hospital. They don't know if he's going to make it. Looks like his injury is going to impact his upcoming out. Well, what's interesting, keep that in mind. He was hit by a car in 2017. He comes out with this music video a couple of years later called Bad Habits, where it shows this very Joker-like vampire version of Ed Sheeran with a normal version of Ed Sheeran with his hand over his heart. And this is just some quotes from the music video, from the lyrics. "Every pure intention ends when the good times start. I was looking for a way out. Now I can't escape." So if you notice, I took the screenshot from the video on the right. It's this apparent other version of Ed about to get hit by a car. but he somehow like uses the force and stops this car before it hits him. But if you go to the next image, Ed himself flies out of the windshield of the car. So the clone catches the real version of Ed and in its arms dies. He dies in his arms. And then it shows the rest of the music video shows how this other version of Ed Sheeran just takes over. And it talks about bad habits and the party life and how you just basically how it's not what you think it is and how you sell your soul and whatever. They're showing you like this. There's so many music videos and examples where they tell you without telling you. He gets hit by a car in real life. In the music video, he almost gets hit by a car. They depict him dying and this clone taking over. Anyway, just interesting. Stuff like that is what most people aren't paying attention to. Cloned rappers. This is apparently Eminem's one of them, tons of them. If you guys haven't seen the Tom McDonald clone rapper music video, we're going to play it for you. We have time. We're only an hour and a half into this, believe it or not. So I'm going to play this 3-minute music video. It's very eye-opening if you guys have never seen it, unless anyone has any objections. But Tom McDonald claims the Illuminati has been cloning rappers, and then he's exposing the industry. So let's play this.
On this.
What's that?
It's not picking up the audio great on that.
It's not?
Well, after he got done the rapping part was great, but then after that it was like,
well, we'll go one more verse and then we'll stop it because
you can't even hear it.
Okay. Well, then we won't play it.
After that initial rapping, yeah, it was like.
Well, no, he starts rapping again, is what I'm saying.
Oh, he does? Okay.
I'll just play. Well, it's too late now. Anyway.
Okay.
So you get the idea. We'll link that video underneath
right.
The whatever you call it, the video.
See, people are saying in the chat, yeah. We'll have the link in the description.
No reason to watch the whole thing, but okay, no big deal. Either way, it's very, very interesting. He basically lays it all out, exactly what they're doing and how they're weaponizing clones and how they literally publicize the executions, and they tell you, they show you when the original dies or gets taken over. They tell you without telling you, just like the Ed Sheeran thing. But here, this is Kid Buu claiming that he's been cloned and other artists. So we'll let him tell you about it.
I guess you originally were born in Jersey?
Yeah. Originally, my first gen. I'm a second gen now. That's why you see the celebrity bursts say I'm born in Toronto, but that's false. My first gen was born in Jersey. However, I was cloned by Clonate in Canada.
Then you ended up in South Florida.
Yeah.
So you were actually raised by a single mother.
Yeah, that's true. Our mom was single.
Where was your father around during that time?
I don't know. Like I said, a lot of the memories from Clonate were erased just so that way the new gen can move forward with whatever new programming was made.
What do you think was some of the hardest things you dealt with growing up?
Witnessing friends' lives get taken.
What was that like being a teenager and suddenly seeing all that death around you?
I didn't really feel anything. I didn't even go to a lot of the funerals. I would just go to the wake and then just go and then leave. Because I feel like if you let it bother you, it's something that happens every day. It's kind of the norm. And already dealing with depression naturally, it's just like I don't want to sit there thinking of all that shit, I believe in a new norm now. I believe in a new norm of like through the creation and synthesis in DNA that we can live like immortality, like immortal through clones and transfer our consciousness. I'm a living proof now.
What's that?
Shout out Clonade.
Yeah. Well, you could actually, as soon as you die, they could actually freeze your body.
Well, what happened with my first gen is they took the skull, because he initially had written in a will to the Raelian movement that if something were to happen to him, they can ship the skull over immediately to Clonade. So they can remove a fragment of bone that's located here. And in this fragment of bone, it stores all of your memories and consciousness. And with that, they can make a sufficient replica of yourself, a reproductive version of you, including your memories. You can be selective as to which ones you keep or don't keep. This process has been around for quite some time. Like Dolly the sheep was cloned back in, I think, the late 70s, early 80s, if I'm not mistaken.
Dolly the sheep, yeah, I remember that, and they cloned a lot of animals.
Yeah.
Over the years.
Yeah, Clonate, don't want to say too much information. This is going to be broadcasted
Okay.
on the internet.
But I don't think they can transfer the actual memories though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
You're living proof of this?
yeah, I'm living proof. Except
Okay.
all the memories. A lot of them
All
I don't
memories.
have because of drugs and alcohol I abused as a teenager. So it's kind of like burning an MP3 CD, right? So let's say we don't do this. I mean, people don't do this anymore. But back in the day, you would bootleg a CD. You would need the original copy. You put it in, it reads the disc, transfers all the files. You have the same exact CD. It's the same thing. All the tracks, everything, every bar, every hit from every note, everything's gonna be on there. Now, if I scratch that CD, I may not be able to read all the files on the disc, making it impossible to transfer, make a new one, new copy. I think it's amazing that they even were able to make Gucci Man.
Right, because they cloned him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Clonate did. I'm pretty sure like that was done from a separate company, but yeah, clearly
Right, everyone was saying he was cloned as soon as he got out of jail. He looked different, he talked different.
Yeah, even his teeth, and his smile.
Right, he was smiling a lot more.
Yeah, he did, definitely. I like
So
new
Gucci-
Gucci. I like new Gucci. I like second gen Gucci.
Second gen Gucci. Okay, so Gucci was the first hip hop clone, but you're the second.
Maybe if there's others, I don't know. But I don't even think just hip hop. I consider myself like more of a rock star, pop star. So Michael then technically was the first. If you people think he was a clone.
Michael Jackson?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely perfected the process by the time they got to him.
Okay. Sorry, it's a little long, but worth it in my opinion, just to hear coming from the horse's mouth, the people that are claiming to have been cloned. So you're not just hearing from us. This next one is Kid Buu goes live with his clone. This is a short video. The camera's pretty far. It's hard to prove or disprove, but this is apparently both of them on camera at the same time.
Yo, come over here. Yeah, fuck that shit. Go ahead.
Sorry, it's hard to hear.
We got the same tattoo, same hair, same genetic structure. Here's my clone. Go ahead. What do you gotta say now? I mean, I'll wait all day. We can go live, bro. We can go live. We're gonna go live on this one. Fuck everybody who doubted us. The last clone.
All right. So if you notice also, he said he's all about a new norm and immortality and all that stuff. Well, that's Raelian's, that's their whole mission statement. So obviously their clones are going to be programmed with that mindset.
Exactly. They're programmed with that. That's
Which
not
is-
just a natural occurring thing.
Which is
So James Caspel, if you listen to some of his interviews, he basically has the exact cabal mindset of everything. Like he that's what he claims he believes, but that's because that's what was programmed into him.
right.
by the
And now you know why so many celebrities and people push all these agendas. It's not even them. We're just seeing basically robots being programmed to push their agendas and pull off whatever they're trying to pull off and fool everybody. Nothing. I mean, we're about to get into the deepfake technology. So here's the Disney clones. I'm going to play this video if no one's seen this. Where's my cursor? Oh.
Grown in the Disney Genetic Engineering Lab will be unveiled to the public.
Right. Now, Tracy, most of our viewers are already familiar with a lot of the products that have come out of the Disney lab. Yes, but how exactly do you create a Hilary Duff or a Miley Cyrus
So the stars that we see on TV are actually grown right here?
That's correct. They're grown and developed here. We engineer their brains for advanced singing and dancing capabilities, even posing for photos. By the time they grow to desired size, these child stars are fully ready for the camera or the concert tours or whatever Disney chooses to put them in.
Now, how long does it take to actually create a star from scratch?
Well, not very long at all. We use the exact same DNA structure for all of our stars. Then we simply tweak minor details like hair color or skin tone.
Right, yeah, we do have some footage here of some of the well-known creations that have come out of your lab. Let's take a look.
Yes, well, that's model 6831-A, publicly known as Mitchell Musso, standard male base with a type 3 skin pigmentation.
Wow.
And that's model 6831-B. We give him slightly thicker eyebrows and type 5 skin.
Oh, it's the
It
future.
really looks like you have someone for every kid in America to love
Well, that's the
here.
idea, Tracy. Our writers find it very liberating. For example, our new model, Haley, is a singing, dancing, snowboarding, half Japanese, half Indian girl.
Wow.
Now, finding her in reality would be impossible.
Right, but sounds like a surefire hit to me. Oh, now this one's Zac Efron. I've seen him before.
Yes, Zach was actually one of our earliest.
My daughters love him. I mean, he looks so real.
Actually, I think we could have done a better job with Zach. He could show more human tendencies. If you look closely, you'll notice there's a certain deadness around the eyes.
I do see that. Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's hard for me to watch because all I see is all my mistakes.
Yeah.
Boy, he seems flawless to me.
Well, he's holding up, but there was a bug in that first batch, and as a result, Zach's skin will soon begin to dissolve.
No, Disney Channel stars grown in the dip.
So there's that.
There's that.
And here is Miley Cyrus and Justin Bieber. You heard them just say that they're basically the same mold. They're all created from the same mold, and they just tweak the features, male, female, whatever. And there's a lot of similarities, a whole conspiracy theory about Justin Bieber and Miley Cyrus being the same mold of these Disney clones. Here is a whole another example of the people be the same mold used for two different actors, Jennifer Lawrence, Brienne Davis, Jeff Bridges, Kurt Russell. It goes on and on. And what's interesting is Walt Disney himself had his body frozen so that he could be cloned. So, and if anybody knows that story, it's interesting, but the creator, the founder of Disney himself was fascinated with cloning. Why would the entire organization, the entire company not be modeled around it? I mean, obviously, if he was into it, his stars would probably be cloned as well. We don't, we have just some stuff to go by. It's not 100% proof that that's what's happening, but considering what we're looking at now, you have to consider it. And then some people claim that the movie Frozen was made to hide the conspiracy that Disney had themselves frozen and cloned. So whenever you typed in or Googled Frozen and Disney, it brings up the movie instead of the articles about Walt Disney himself. So who knows? And then this is a real article that's mainstream. Disney is face cloning people to create terrifyingly realistic robots. And this article came out in 2012. 2012 was a long time ago. If they were making realistic robots back then, what are they doing now? Aaron, do you want to chime in anywhere before we play this next video?
No, go ahead.
Anybody in the chat have any questions? Are they saying anything?
Hold on a second. Oh yeah, that movie where the girl singer poses as a boy to play soccer with Channing Tatum. She does look like Justin Bieber. Is that Miley Cyrus? I have no idea. I don't know. But...
Oh yeah, I've seen that movie. I forgot.
Oh,
yeah, he plays a girl, or vice versa. The girl plays a guy. I forgot what it was. Anyway,
somebody's asking, was that a real show, not a deep fake? It did almost seem like was that confirmed that was real?
No, the Disney thing.
No, the clip that we just played of the Today, whatever.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That I don't know. I don't know how.
It almost seems really over the top, like
right.
Like,
but
is that real?
either way,
way,
if it's real or if it's not, we know how they operate. They tell you in plain sight.
they
So
put it out there anyway, right?
it could have been put out as satire, but it could be the exact truth.
Right. But how much satire and stuff is put out that's completely
Right.
real. That's how they
Right.
put it out there.
Exactly. They have to tell you.
Mhm.
So we'll play this one really quick. It's a Kevin Hart video.
Is cloning a real thing? Sergeant 6, Kevin Hart.
How do you do it? I look on Twitter, there you are. Facebook, there you are. Television, there you are. How do you do it?
I have a clone.
I was gonna say that. There's two of you.
Cat's out of the bag. Okay, about a good 3 of me. We broke it. They didn't want to release it yet. This is major news that I'm giving you.
All right.
I'm the first person to ever use it. I'm cloned. I'm cloned.
Okay.
So anyway, it's a long video, but that's the only part I wanted to show you. Just show you how these celebrities, they're just telling you, people laugh it off. Just like, when Jim Carrey went on Jimmy Fallon and they told everybody that they were part of the Illuminati, they basically exposed the whole agenda. They were doing the hand symbols and everyone's like, oh, haha, that's funny. And they're like, no, we're telling you, this is what we're doing. But
yeah, they present it like a joke. So, oh, haha, funny. And like, no, they're literally telling you.
And then here's Jack Black talking about it.
Because I read the script and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Kevin Hart were already attached. And I was like, these characters are jumping off the page. And my role, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to play the most popular girl in high school. For some reason, I know how to play that. And then it was such a hit. It was way bigger than I even anticipated. And now I think we're going to make part 2. I think you have to. I think you have to. They kill you if you try to walk away. And they clone you.
I believe that's true. That's what a lot of the rappers talk about. If you decide not to write that song because it goes against your morals, or you decide not to pose for this magazine because it goes against whatever you believe in, that's when they clone you, replace you, or I don't know how it works, but
all right, we'll make a clone of you that will comply to everything it's programmed,
right,
to do that.
And then this is the girl from the Playboy. I forgot the whole name of the show and her name and everything, but this is one of Hugh Hefner's girlfriends.
Get jealous of other girls because I was raised in a cloning lab to be the perfect woman for Hugh and Hefner. So other than the fact that my IQ is probably a little higher than he would like, I have nothing to worry about.
So why do you make comments like that unless it's not real? You know what I mean?
Right.
I was raised in a cloning lab. We just got done learning about Disney kids being grown and raised in a lab. Max Spears and James Caspel raised in a lab. Donald Marshall. I mean, all these people talk about it. Kid Boo. So at some point, Occam's razor. Now this video could be complete satire for all I know. It's very unclear, but we're just going to play it. It's short. Will Smith.
So I couldn't hear that at all.
Okay.
It was bad on that.
He was basically, so he was taking a selfie with his quote clones, and the one guy's like, no, don't tell him, or don't, whatever you're going to say. He's like, okay, I'll say it, clone. So here's me with my clones, whatever. He's just kind of like jokingly taking a selfie with his clones. Whether it's true or not, don't know. Okay, Hollywood Immortals. The show Inside Job on Netflix, the cartoon. It really dives deep into the Keanu Reeves, how he never ages and how he's one of the Hollywood Immortals. And it's really interesting. And they explain how they drink blood and all that stuff. It's pretty disgusting, but also very interesting. Tom Cruise is another one. A lot of the SSP guys have talked about. Daryl James and Johan Fritz both talk about Tom Cruise being a clone, and the head of the adrenochrome harvesting, whatever, him and Tom Hanks. But they're all very youthful and they don't age. They don't seem to age that well or that much. And those are both rabbit holes you can go down. Johan said that in the Mission Impossible movies, it's Tom Cruise clones that do all the stunts. because Tom Cruise is adamant on doing his own stunts, and some of them are insane, but it's not actually him. His clone will show up that day. Even the rest of the cast, the director, they might not even know that it's not him himself not showing up to work that day, but who knows? Sandra Bullock is another one, Jennifer Aniston, Hollywood Immortals. They also, you guys have seen these pictures, old historic classic photos, old time photos, and then modern celebrities that look exactly like him. John Travolta, Nicolas Cage, Eddie Murphy, Matthew McConaughey, Jennifer Lawrence, Johnny Depp. I mean, some of these look exactly like them. And either they're being cloned, there's something more going on here with the celebrities, and there's no accident and no coincidence is how these people are in the spotlight again today. What's her name at the top left, Aaron?
Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Her, Bruce Willis, Ellen DeGeneres, Queen Latifah, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Murray. Now, there's a way more examples. This is just some of them. And what's interesting about Mark Zuckerberg, I had a dream the other night that Jock Doubleday showed me a video that was released where Mark Zuckerberg comes out and it tells the whole world that he's a vampire. Interesting dream. But vampires are supposed to live forever, right? So what does that tell you about all these people and the blood and the adrenochrome?
Right.
Paul McCartney, that's another whole rabbit hole. Completely different person, took over the Beatles after he died. Disclaimer. So this next part is basically these are articles from Real Raw News. Some people like John D'Souza claim that these are real art, that is where you can find the real truth. Other people like Jordan Sather say that nothing on that website is true at all. And basically what I come to realize is basically the tabloids of the internet. So take it all with a grain of salt. Whether or not these next headlines or these articles are true, we'll let you decide. Aaron, you could read through some of them if you want.
Sure. The Marines unalive Clinton clones in New York and San Diego. The real epidemic was never COVID. It's all the damn clones. A source in General Eric M. Smith office told Real Raw News after U.S. Marines on Monday unalived two Hillary clones on opposite sides of the country at the same time of day. The 2nd Marine Squad visited New York to see whether a Clinton lookalike surfaced at Lee's Memorial. Both teams had clear rules of engagement. First, figure out whether the imposters were clones or human actors. If clones, unalive them. If actors, make an arrest. Unalive them. I guess that just means kill them.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
It's a funny term. I guess they only use that for clones. Interesting.
Maybe.
Accomplishing that task meant the Marines would have to isolate and capture the Clinton copies, then inspect them for abnormalities, flat feet, missing molars, deformed genitals, common among the clones found at the Alaska and Missouri cloning laboratories. Our source reluctantly shared an added defect: heterochromia, the presence of different colored eyes in the same person. Heterochromia in humans appears either as a hereditary trait unassociated with other disease, as a symptom of various syndromes, or as a result of trauma. White hats say clones among us hide the defect with colored contact lenses or through corrective surgery. That's pretty interesting.
Right. I'll let you read this one too if you want.
Okay. Special Forces seize deep state cloning lab in Alaska. United States Special Forces Thursday seized an enemy cloning laboratory near Fort Yukon, Alaska, which held dozens of deep state clones. A source, blah, blah, blah. The find marks the 2nd time white hats located carbon copies of deep state politicians. As reported last month, Special Forces on December 22nd found and destroyed a concealed cloning center in the Missouri Ozarks that held replicas of Joe Biden, Chuck Schumer, and Anthony Fauci. Evidence taken from the lab later led Special Forces to a German-born cloning scientist living in Boston. That individual, whose name remains a mystery, was reportedly arrested and brought to a Marine Corps base for interrogation.
Military briefs Trump on the cloning crisis. Report: clones are imperfect and detectable. Special Forces destroyed deep state cloning lab. Just some of the other articles, the headlines that you'll find on Real Raw News. Like I said, the tabloids of the internet could be true.
On that point, though, so according to multiple insiders, supposedly, the way they have put out a lot of truth over the years is in the tabloids, because they can't put it out any other way. Basically, like they can't put it out, and the mainstream media is all controlled, as we know.
Right.
So how else are they going to put it out in any other than alternative media? Obviously, other than alternative media, how else are they going to put it out? The tabloids. And then the cabal, the deep, of course, is okay with that, because they know the mindset of most people is, oh, tabloids are all fake, right? It's all just for entertainment only. Well, actually, from multiple insiders have said that they put out a lot of truth in tabloids. So why would it be any different with Real Raw News, an internet tabloid site, essentially, or what's considered that by a lot of people? Why would it be any different? Especially when you see articles like this looks like straight up disclosure being put out.
Right.
So,
I agree.
Throwing that out there.
I agree. I mean, it's very plausible. It's a very plausible explanation. And I think you're right. The tabloids have more truth. I mean, even the movie Men in Black talks about that. Like,
yeah.
They tell you the tabloids are the real news.
Right. Truth in plain sight.
So this is a picture of the Dulce, New Mexico base, alleged leaked photograph from Thomas Costello, who told himself to be a security official at the Dulce base, New Mexico. He leaked this image to the world. He and his family were missing and presumed dead by the world after this. Apparently, it's Dulce base's Nightmare Hall is where all the aliens performed the sick experiments on humans. Whether or not this is an original photo remains to be known, but I wouldn't be surprised. All right, CIA masks. Man, we've been going for 2 hours. You guys hanging in there with us? You all right, Aaron? Do we need?
I'm good.
We're just gonna power through.
61 watching still, so
awesome. Well,
pretty good.
And this, we're just gonna keep going. We're gonna power through it. So
we're gonna keep going.
CIA masks. Hyper realistic mask can fool us just like in Mission Impossible. And if you guys have seen the Mission Impossible movies, it's all based around CIA espionage using masks as disguise. Very realistic masks that even can deceive people that know them the closest. And they even show in the movie a little vocal strip that you can put on your neck, and it changes your vocal cords, changes your voice as well. So it's not just the mask, but they can change your voice. The image in the top right is them making a mask in the movie. The bottom image is just him pulling the mask off of him. So interesting disclosure in those movies about the mask. And then this is a video of the CIA chief, former CIA chief of disguise. Hopefully you guys can hear this because this is a really good video.
My name is Jonna Mendez, and I was chief of disguise at the CIA. One of the things that was going on when I was chief of disguise was an enormous research program into the new advanced disguise system. It was basically the masks that everybody always wondered if we used masks, and this was the beginning. This is a series of photographs of when I met George H.W. Bush in the Oval Office and revealed to him that I was briefing him wearing a mask.
Now, in particular, and regarding this photograph, it is a Getty's image photograph. If you go to the link, you can see the photographer, all those kinds of details, who took it. So what is the anomaly with this particular photograph?
Do you have any people paid by the CIA who are working for television networks This, I think, gets into the kind of getting into the details, Mr. Chairman, that I'd like to get into in executive session.
Maxed or masked?
It was a big challenge to come up with something.
So anyway, that goes on and on about the mask, but we'll be here all night if we watch everything. This is the Joe Biden discrepancies. There's a million different versions of them: clones, body doubles, cyborgs, androids, masks, you name it. But there's discrepancies, as we all know. The earlobes is a big one, which I think we talked about earlier. And then, oh, this is a really good video of one of the Joe Biden masks.
Look at the wrinkles in the hairline. You can see him raise his real eyebrows under the mask.
Hey, this is bullshit. That's a mask. That's a skin mask. It ain't no. Look at it. Bullshit.
people are onto it.
Yep. Pretty obvious on that one.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the mask, pretty obvious, so everybody knows it's happening. I don't think we need to really prove that as much as we needed to prove the clones. Deepfake technology, this is very real. There is no conspiracy. They come out straight out and admit this. Everywhere you look online, you can find everything you want about this. But if you want to read through this, Aaron, you can.
Sure. So deepfake technology, a document from Congressional Research Service describes deepfake technology and warns that this tech could be used to create false videos of elected officials or other public figures for politically motivated nefarious purposes. And they go on to say, deepfakes could, however, be used for nefarious purposes. State adversaries or politically motivated individuals could release falsified videos of elected officials or other public figures making incendiary comments or behaving inappropriately. Doing so could, in turn, erode public trust, negatively affect public discourse, or even sway an election. So clearly, they reveal what we have been speculating for a while now, that the whole reason they're even disclosing deepfake technology to begin with right now at this point in time is because they know there's all these videos, all these damning videos that could easily be released of all these politicians and public figures that so they're trying to get ahead of it. So they're trying to be like, oh guys, there's this deepfake technology that anyone could make a fake video, and you don't, like, basically as soon as one of those videos gets released, they can just say it's a deepfake video and it's not real.
Right.
And then they're even highlighting the fact that, oh, it could be used for political reasons and erode trust. So if one comes out on Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton or George Soros or blah, 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 go down the list, they can say, oh, it's a far right wing extremist that put it out because they're a far right wing extremist, and they're trying to discredit blah, blah, blah. So clearly they're telling you their motivation in this. The technology has most likely been around for a long time, but has just recently been released because of the shadow war going on and the deep state trying to preemptively counter any damning videos that could surface of political or public figures. They are prepping the public with the idea that any video you see could be a fake, so that when the real videos are released, they can just claim it's a fake. It's been said by multiple insiders that the deep state releases fake UFO and ET videos on purpose to muddy the waters and to discredit the real videos that are out there. So if anyone sees the real videos, they can, oh, that's been debunked. It was proven to be a fake, and the fake was released on purpose for that reason. So one has to assume that they've been doing the same exact thing with videos of public figures. They're always trying to psychologically manipulate the public's perception and beliefs, as we know.
How deepfake technology can influence digital marketing. None of this stuff is a conspiracy, guys. This is a book on deepfake technology, The Complete Guide to Deepfakes, Politics, and Social Media. Norbert Young. I'm going to read through some of this because it's really interesting. What is a deepfake? Have you seen Barack Obama call Donald Trump a complete dipshit, or Mark Zuckerberg brag about having total control of billions of people's stolen data, or witnessed Jon Snow's moving apology for the dismal ending of Game of Thrones? Answer yes, and you've seen a deepfake. The 21st century's answer to photoshopping. Deepfakes use a form of artificial intelligence called deep learning to make images of fake events, hence the name deepfake. We want to put new words in a politician's mouth, star in your favorite movie, or dance like a pro, then it's time to make a deepfake. What are they for? Many are pornographic. The AI firm Deep Trace found 15,000 deepfake videos online in September of 2019, a near doubling over 9 months. A staggering 96% were pornographic, and 99% of those mapped faces from female celebrities onto porn stars. As new techniques allow unskilled people to make deepfakes with a handful of photos, fake videos are likely to spread beyond the celebrity world to fuel revenge porn, as Daniel Citron, a professor of the law at Boston University, puts it. Deepfake technology is being weaponized against women. Beyond the porn, there's plenty of proof, satire, and mischief. Is it just about the videos? No, deepfake technology can recreate convincing but entirely fictional photos from scratch. A non-existent Bloomberg journalist, Maisie Kinsley, who had a profile on LinkedIn and Twitter, was probably a deepfake. Another LinkedIn fake, Katie Jones, claimed to work at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, but it is thought to be a deepfake created for a foreign spying operation. Audio can be deepfaked too, to create voice skins or voice clones of public figures. So, I mean, they're telling you, this stuff's on Google, guys. They're telling you exactly what they're doing right in front of your eyes. You cannot believe anything you see or hear anymore. And then here, watch for yourself. Oops, go back.
I am not Morgan Freeman. What you see is not real. Well, at least in contemporary terms.
Is it playing, Aaron?
Yeah, it's playing. It sounds good.
Okay, sorry. Oh, we'll do it again.
I'm not Morgan Freeman. What you see is not real. Well, at least in contemporary terms, it is not. What if I were to tell you that I'm not even a human being? Would you believe me? What is your perception of reality? Is it the ability to capture, process, and make sense of the information our senses receive? If you can see, hear, taste, or smell something, does that make it real? Or is it simply the ability to feel? I would like to welcome you to the era of synthetic reality. Now, what do you see?
So that was a deep fake Morgan Freeman. This is the Tom Cruise deep fake that most people have seen online by now. It's a ton of deep fakes. They're actually pretty funny, but look exactly and sound exactly and act exactly like Tom Cruise.
In this reel, you're going to see my amigo, Chris Umi. He's going to introduce to you the wonderful world of deepfakes, how AI and VFX are unlocking the future of our imagination. What's up, TikTok? You guys cool if I play some sports? So you see her hands go up.
So sorry about that. If you paid attention to how he was slowing his hand down as it passed over his eyes, you can tell that it's a deep fake whenever something moves in front of its face really quick. And in the video, he goes on to explain how they can correct that, but it's one of the ways to tell. It's a long video, so we're not going to play it all. But these crazy Britney Spears Instagrams that everyone was flipping out about, like she's gone crazy. Well, it turns out it wasn't even her.
It's not even her.
And and somebody figured it out that you could tell there was deepfake technology whenever her arms pass in front of her face, which we're going to watch right here.
So this real,
Hang on, I got to
Oh,
figure out.
don't play both.
No, I know. I got to figure out how to do that.
So you
in
see
this
her
real,
hand,
I don't know why. One sec. It's one to play.
We'll try to stop the first one.
Yeah.
There we
Okay.
go.
so you see her hands go above her face once. Watch when they come back down.
Yep.
I
You
wanted
see
to
it.
post screenshots of the AI filter coming off so people could see for a bit longer just how insane this is.
So that's all it was. But there's a lot of people who break that video down. Clearly, it's not Britney Spears, and people, no people, a normal, everyday, average person who's not researching, looking into this stuff, doesn't know that it's being used right before their very eyes to deceive them in a number of ways. Just like, but what is interesting, well, we'll get into that in the next portion. Here's another example. We'll play this really quick. It's short, of a video that is apparently Barack Obama, but it's not Barack Obama, just like the Morgan Freeman one.
It got me thinking about my full-time employees and their ability to survive on $8 an hour in New York City. And foremost in all of our minds has been the loss and the grief felt by the people of Orlando. Most of us don't get our healthcare through the marketplace. We get it through our job or through Medicare or Medicare. And what you should know is that thanks to the Affordable Care Act, your coverage is better today than it was before. Women can get free checkups, and you can't get charged more just for being a woman. If his employees come together to pass a common as a bill that would boost America's very, very hard times.
Some progress, at least within the small confines of the legal community. I think it's real important.
Here we go. President Barack Obama. When you giving a speech, make sure you use a lot of pauses.
So, just for the sake of time, I'm not going to play the whole thing. You guys get the idea. They can create anything they want. And I'm pretty sure if you really start paying attention, I've noticed Biden and even Trump in one occasion, I'm pretty sure when he did a State of the Union address from his office during the pandemic, I swear it was deepfake. It just did not look organic at all. And honestly, when you look at this stuff, you can almost feel it now. And that's what we're going to end on, is how you can really feel into this stuff. This is the Will Smith video talking about how nothing you see, you can believe.
Yeah, we out here on vacation. It's another beautiful day. Check it out. Check it out. Ooh. I'm going to talk to y'all for a minute about the power of perception. You see, there's a lot that goes in to being a hot social media content provider. For instance, y'all think I got time to go on vacation? No, I got social to do. Come on, man, this is blue screen. In fact, I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all. I haven't looked like this good in years. I've been totally computer generated since like the 90s. You know what? This ain't even real blue screen. It's 2019, y'all. Nothing's real.
Anyway, 2019, they were saying, he was saying that. 2023, nothing's definitely real now.
Yeah.
We're almost done, guys. We're getting to the end here. So holograms and Bluebeam, Project Bluebeam. Is everybody still hanging in there in the chat?
Yep. They're still hanging in there. We got 57 watching.
All right. All right. Well, thanks for sticking with us, guys. It's a lot of time and effort put into this, so it takes a while to
This is a big one.
cover it all. Holograms, Bluebeam Technology. First of all, this is just an example of what we're capable of now. Obviously, they've been capable of this for years. Emery Smith talked about tangible holograms that you could touch, see. They're tangible. You wouldn't know any different. If it was in front of you, you could literally walk up to and touch it. So here's an example of this just now surfacing.
You are looking at the next generation of hologram tech. This is the HoloLens.
This device allows someone to touch real objects within their environment. The company soon hopes to have a glove that will allow a tactile function. So when you're touching virtual objects, it will feel like objects touched in real life. Ready Player One style games may be coming soon.
The Pope, you guys have all seen this. We'll just play it for fun. He literally disappeared on live TV because the hologram glitched out.
Appeared at his window to bless the crowd. However, bizarrely, as he stepped back inside, he seemed to vanish in thin air.
He just disappears.
He goes bye-bye.
Is it not? He's gone. Oh my.
Even curiouser, the Vatican removed all copies of this video, leaving only the official version. As to why the Vatican would do this, some believe Francis was sick that day, or alternatively, that this is a common safety protocol, perhaps to prevent assassination attempts.
There you have it. We're going to start seeing all kinds of glitches like that, I would imagine, in the coming days. This one, even my favorite, it just came out on June 2nd this year. If you're wondering what Project Bluebeam is going to look like, this is Dubai, June 2nd, 2023. Just replace the whales with UFOs. This is crazy, guys. Now, is that real footage? Is it not real footage? We don't know. But if Bluebeam tech is real, I would imagine that's exactly what it's going to look like. And here's another example of, so this dragon has been used used at many different sporting events. I don't know what country this is from, but it's another version of deepfake. Hologram. I'll turn the volume down this one. Whether or not this is real or not, I don't know, but this dragon has been used at sporting events, a couple different ones. And I've seen a couple different videos of this dragon doing different things at different arenas. I think they're just showing you what's possible.
Look how real
if this is real.
So just imagine the unsuspecting public, that just you look up and you see that. Like 99.999% of people are gonna think it's real.
Well, yeah, unless you're at a sporting event and they're like, guys, this is our new hologram technology, check it out.
But just because they announced, you're like, if they don't announce anything, like that
Right.
looks real.
Now, is Joe Biden a hologram? Yes. Something's going on here.
So we got Reno and I watching this new Biden speech. And you're telling me his hand doesn't go through the microphone? You don't see that? You watch for yourself. I've not doctored this video. I'm showing you what happened and you be the judge. Wait till you see this. Focus on the bottom left of your screen, please.
Not at the moment. When you're able to share thoughts with other countries, with your allies or neighbors, seven borders change. Not at the moment. Seven borders change. Not at the moment. Seven borders change. Not at the moment.
Reno.
So everyone kind of flipped out about that video, about his hand going through the microphone. Whether it's a green screen background or what's going on.
It's a green screen background.
Yeah.
That's the only explanation for that.
Yeah. Either way, the entire Biden presidency is fake.
Right.
On some level. And then this is a video showing Kamala Harris walking into an invisible airplane.
My theme music, Every Good Hero.
Should have some.
I gotta fast forward this a little bit because
Go ahead and let it play. It's a 14-second
Here.
clip of our dear, most popular vice president in the history of America, Kamala Harris, as she boards US 2, I guess. You know, the little one. There she is. She's having a diplomatic talk, no doubt. Gives a half-hearted salute, and up the steps she goes, right onto the airport. Did you see what I didn't see? Let's watch that again here. Okay, I'll pause it at the right time. There she is, pretending she's talking about something important. And there she is, giving a salute. Oh, yeah, I'm sure she meant that. And there she goes up the steps to air.
There's no plane.
Gonna fall off. Could we be so lucky?
so, I mean, they're just putting on a movie for us, like
It's
Q
all
said.
show.
It's all a movie.
Yep. It's all
And
fake.
all of the issues they have everyone arguing over, it's all fabricated issues designed to divide. I mean, and then people spend all their time and energy breaking down politics and the policies and this and that. In the meantime, there's reptilians or whoever is sitting back with their feet kicked up on a desk, smoking a cigar, laughing at us.
You're going, these idiots fell for this. This is great.
Trump is trying to tell us.
Look, you know it, and I know it. Joe doesn't know he's alive.
Biden doesn't know he's alive.
Biden doesn't know, I mean, he doesn't know he's alive.
Now, I have to tell you, he's a different guy. He looks different than he used to. He acts different than he used to. He's even slower than he used to be. So I don't know, but I call him 1% Joe. Joe Biden is a dummy.
It's not him. He does. He's a puppet. He is a puppet.
I mean, Trump knows, obviously. Whatever you guys want to think about Trump, that doesn't matter.
Trump loves to say little things all the time that if you know, like he's telling you the truth, you know. He likes to put it out there constantly.
And then here we go. This is the fake White House set that they didn't come out and tell you it was a set until it was accidentally exposed. Then they had to release an article saying, oh, well, we're doing it for this reason because of COVID and blah, blah. Biden never moved into the White House. That's a whole conspiracy theory in itself. That even that pedestal in the middle, that not pedestal, what do you call that thing?
Podium,
even looks CGI, even in that. I mean, I don't know, looks kind of fake. But here's an article about Biden's pretend Oval Office, and they even use like those are TV monitors as the windows. This is the wallpaper in Biden's Oval Office, the wallpaper in Trump's Oval Office. Now, they say that when every president moves in, that they immediately redecorate, but they would have had to redecorate and re-wallpaper that office in record time, overnight time, by the time they showed by the last time Trump was in there and the first time Biden was in there. Just showing you guys this to show you more of the illusion. Biden's inauguration. This was a really interesting one. That whole day was like the people at the actual site where it was supposed to be were claiming different weather than the weather that was being shown on TV. If you notice these girls in the pink and white in the background, there's video footage of this too. I couldn't find a good video, so I just put the photographs. Those two girls are not in the other camera angle. Now, this is from a video. The video switches camera angles. They have a girl in the pink and white. All of a sudden they disappear. Why are they not there? Unless we're watching some sort of movie. And notice the Bible that Biden is swearing in on compared to the Bible that Trump was sworn in on, what looks like a normal Bible, what looks like they're using.
Is that even a Bible?
Right. The Necronomicon, I think
right, that thing is massive.
A better word for that book.
You know what it looks like? It looks like, you know, those giant dictionaries that a lot of libraries have?
Yeah.
That are like that thick. That's what it looked like. They put the crosses on the side so you think it's a Bible. Like, oh, look, it's a Bible. There's crosses. And
exactly.
It's probably not even a Bible.
I don't think that's the Bible.
It's not.
So And then just more of the illusion. This was Biden's inauguration, Trump's inauguration. Look as far back as you can see. The people go as far as the eye can see, thousands and thousands of people. Now there's people were comparing the photograph on the left of Biden's inauguration to Trump's, but here's the thing. They're trying to say it's the other way around. When you look it up, they're saying that the Trump inauguration crowd photos were edited, not the Biden ones. Like there was all a show. They had to make it seem like Biden was like 81 million votes, right? Just all the illusion. Like everything about this whole last presidency was fake, is fake. Nothing that we see is real anymore. The Hillary clone, these are 3 different versions of Hillary. The one on the bottom left is scary. There's some footage of her glitching out, malfunctioning.
Those aren't even clone. Those are just 2 completely different people that look nothing like Hillary Clinton.
Right.
They're trying to be past this. It's hilarious.
And you heard Tequila say that Hillary was killed and cloned. This is her. There's a video of this, her coughing up and spitting out some weird, like, creature-looking substance.
Whatever that is, right?
Yeah, it wasn't normal phlegm. Like, that was some weird, like, whatever thing she is, she wasn't supposed to cough that up. And then movies, talking about clones. Replicas is a good one. They talk about, you know, how they're trying to create like a cyborg and then eventually a clone, but in that movie in particular, they show exactly how they can block out specific memories, not even entire memories. But if they want that clone to not remember that the original one had kids, they can do it. They know exactly which neural pathway to target and how to block a memory. And in that movie, they show it. Tons of disclosure in all these. The Sixth Day, Gemini Man, Swan Song, The Island, The Boys from Brazil, Future World. I highly recommend that one. The Lucifer Complex, Multiplicity, Star Wars Episode 2. That talks about the entire cloning facility and the clone army that I think that we saw in World War II. And there's tons and tons of nods to Germany and the World War II in the Star Wars movies and the World Wars in general. Tom Cruise, Oblivion, great movie, talks about clones. Movie called Clone, and then Project Clone here. And guys, there's tons of movies on clones. Just Google it and you'll find a bunch. Just start watching them if you're interested. Anything you want to add about these movies, Aaron?
So the ones I recommend that I haven't even seen all these, so I need to watch. I haven't seen Future World yet, and I need to watch that.
That's one of the better ones.
So I haven't seen Replicas yet. I need to watch that. I've seen The Sixth Day. Sixth Day is amazing. If you haven't seen, I mean, I think it's great. The Island is a great movie. Boys from Brazil is really, really good. Highly recommend that one. Some of these have a lot of disclosure. Like I think Sixth Day and Boys from Brazil, Future World probably have.
Yeah.
They're like just chock full of disclosure. And Lucifer Complex, like you said, not a good movie, but it has a ton of disclosure. So if you watch it just for that purpose, obviously Star Wars Episode 2. As far as the Star Wars movie goes, not great in my opinion.
But disclosure, yeah.
Disclosure, yes.
The Sixth Day, side note, Tony Rodriguez watched it the other day based on my recommendation. He texted me. He's like, dude, this is the first time I've seen this movie. He said, what the fuck? He's like, this shit is real. Like, they're telling you. He was flipping out. He couldn't believe they were showing it in the movie.
Yeah. Gemini Man is a great movie. I actually watched that on the plane like a year ago or so. It's
and
really
there's plenty more. Oblivion is the only one I've seen on this screen. Another really good one about clones. He finds
I haven't
out.
seen that yet either. I need to watch that.
Yeah. I won't even ruin the plot because it'll ruin the movie. I can't tell the plot without ruining the movie. But I recommend it. And how do you know if you are a clone? Here we go. Let's let Johann Fritz tell us.
Nisha Johnson asked this question. There's a real easy way. If you look at your thumbprint, right? If you're an alter, you're in a clone sleeve. What they call it. You guys watch Altered Carbon, the TV show? Anyone? Okay, so for those of you raising your hands, that sleeve has a in the thumbprint area in the programs. They put a copy of the 16-digit your actual 16-digit serial number in your thumbprint. So if you were to take a thumbprint and magnify it and you see 16 digits there, you're a clone. most people in this room are probably not clones. For one very simple reason. Because for the people that are clones, usually their 1.0 body is being used somewhere else in the programs for a very particular reason, or it's in storage. So usually these alters, they know, they have what's called this rehoming effect, and they typically will try to seek that higher conscious that the gentleman back here talked about earlier. They'll try to seek that higher consciousness out. So they do look for that higher consciousness. So
that would be a normal microscope, or would it have to be like a specific high-powered microscope?
Okay. So when you look at your normal thumbprint, right, most people have that curly Q effect in the thumbprint. You'd have to really zoom in on that to see the ridges in that thumbprint. Now, for most people, you're not going to get a high enough magnification going to Walmart buying a microscope, but you would need a very specific range of microscope to look at the ridges and see what's actually there. And the thing is, those numbers are actually burned into place. So it's very clear that when they're there. That's how we actually track asset tags, that and the fact there's an implant usually in the medulla.
So there you go.
There you go.
And he mentioned Altered Carbon. This is an exhibit for the show Altered Carbon, where they literally, it's a real exhibit. People are walking through and they break down the entire cloning process. It's a long video. We don't have to watch it all. Maybe watch the first couple seconds just to show you guys. They're putting this stuff right out in front of people on display, showing you how they're pulling it off. And people are like, oh, it's just for a TV show. Tell me why on earth they would spend this much money and time to put this exhibit on display if it's just for a TV show. Let me go back and
Real. Hey, gentlemen, just like I said, can I answer any questions? Well, we're a company that produces 100% organic human sleeves. You're probably wondering what's a human sleeve. Well, if you gather around, I can let you know what we do here in full details. So here at Psychosec, we've been able to achieve true immortality by taking your human.
Can you even hear that, Aaron?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Storing it on a device called a portable stack. It's planted in the base of your neck, and it collects and stores everything that makes you you. Every memory, every emotion, every sensation, everything you've ever experienced gets stored on this little device. You can see it here on the screen. That's about the device. You guys just follow me. All the information is stored on this device, and it can get transferred into the sleep of.
So it goes on, and they just explain the entire cloning process, all of it. And it's pretty wild. It all just for a TV show. And then what's next? Oh, I won't even play that. That's just Elizabeth April talking about clones. Basically everything we've already covered. She just talks about clones in the elite society.
She claims she's been there and like astrally, I think, and seen it.
Seen the
seen the facilities and the clones and stuff.
Right.
Excuse me.
And then, last but not least, this is an article that just came out a couple days ago. Synthetic human embryos created in groundbreaking advance. Joe Rogan shared this. This was 2 days ago. Obviously, we just proved to you that this stuff's been around for a long time, but now it's hitting mainstream news again. Joe Rogan's sharing it. Don't be surprised if we start hearing about clones again. Finally, again. They're going to roll out in a way as if it's all new, as if it's just groundbreaking discoveries like this. That's all show. It's all real. It's already been happening. We just showed you guys that. So just keep that in mind when you start seeing these articles. In my prediction, we're probably going to be hearing a lot more about clones in the coming days. That being said, learn to see with your heart. As we just proved to you guys, you cannot trust your eyes anymore. Seeing is not believing. Actually, it could seeing something could lead you down the wrong path if you do believe it nowadays. Seeing is believing is we cannot go by that anymore. So,
and actually it's the opposite. Believing is seeing, if you know how we create reality, or you could say we create the timeline that we're going to experience,
right,
by what you energize with your thoughts and emotions. So, it's actually the opposite.
right.
Believing.
And you guys have heard me and us talk about the inner work and that healing journey, and to truly know yourself. Once you know yourself, you know how your body reacts when it sees the truth or when it hears a lie or hears deception. Your body is an antenna, and it will tell you if that person or that object or whatever the situation is organic or fake. And we all need to learn how to drop into our heart and tear those walls down that have been put up by society. We've all been battle hardened by society. They want everyone to have closed hearts. So if we could learn to open our hearts and learn to see with your heart and you feel what your intuition feels like, and it'll tell you what's real or what's not. And you can look at that UFO and be like, that's fake. That's real. I can just feel it. You can watch the Biden speech and know if it's him or a deep fake or whatever, even though everything you watch with Biden is fake. But you know what I mean. So that's our overall message. If you don't believe in clones by now, I don't know what to tell you. But definitely learn to see with your heart, guys. It's the only way. You want to add anything to that, Aaron?
Amen to that. Well said. Beautifully said. Yeah. So, a lot of this information can seem to be like doom and gloom, or like, oh, we're all effed or whatever. But no, that's not the case at all. This is all part of the old control system stuff. It's still around, obviously, but it's on its way out, in my opinion. It is very much on its way out, and it's the reason we're seeing it more now is because of that reason, because it's on its last legs and everything is coming to the surface right now to be seen and dealt with and exposed and on the rest of it. So we're seeing all the corruption, we're seeing all the fakeness, we're seeing all the things that used to be much more well hidden now, more than we've ever seen them before by far. So it seems like things are getting worse. And then obviously they are like farther down the line in their agendas, but that doesn't mean that we're inevitably going to end up in a totalitarian new world order, like some people seem to think. That's what they want, obviously, but here's how it works. It's such a tiny group of people that control, that are at the very top of the dark pyramid, however you want to say it. And everything's compartmentalized, and they control everything underneath them, and then the mainstream media and the politics and all that is on this very, very low level. It's all puppets. It's all a show, and as we've shown you. But what the whole game is to get you to believe it, to get you to, you're the one, they want your thoughts and emotions to buy into it. So you are creating the reality and the timeline that they want. So everything that they do is trying to manipulate you into energizing their timeline. So the more unconscious you are, and the more you're going to do that naturally, because you're just reacting to things and you don't think you have any power, and you just think you're just reacting to the fear and the negativity, and which is exactly what they want. They don't care what side, whether you're on the right or the left or what side you're on, as long as you're buying into it and reacting to what they want you to react to, and be very, very angry and upset at what's going on and feeding the emotions with that, or they want you to be very happy and buying into all the agendas, like, the transgender and the transhumanist, and go down the list, right? And just all the crazy stuff we see. So they just want you to buy into it. So you're feeding into the reality that they're like presenting, hey, here's the reality we want you to create, and then now it's your choice whether you're going to energize that reality or you're going to energize your own reality, and you're going to live from your own soul and your heart rather than someone else's projected reality.
They need us to co-create their reality. They
Yes.
can't do it without us.
They can't do it without us.
So when we honestly, they're like, I just saved this meme today because it tells everything in one meme, just like memes are great at. They fear love because it creates a world they can't control. George Orwell, 1984. And that's
Yes.
it. And that's
That's
why
it.
that's why the messages drop into your heart. And it's all about love at the end of the day. And I don't know. We've been here
Yeah.
for 2 hours and 45 minutes almost, and I'm starving. It's all about food too.
It's also all about food.
Yeah. Thank you guys for sticking with us. We hope
Thank
you
you,
enjoy
guys.
this. Please tell your friends and family, unless you think it's too much of a red pill for some people. Yeah, we really dove deep in this subject, so we appreciate you guys supporting us. We really appreciate you guys.
Yes, we love you guys. Thank you so much. Hope
Um,
you enjoyed it.
Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. And have a great evening, guys, and we'll see you on Thursday night with another episode. Have a great evening.
Good night, guys.
A lot of this information has been kept sort of locked up or kept undercover because of the invasion of the Smithsonian group way back in the 1880s.
What actually happens is it's not taken to preserve it, it's taken to hide it.
And about 4.5 miles from here, a cave was discovered. It's not really a cave as such, it's a man-made cavern system.
But how the hell do you get that much granite? Because the granite on the base of that damn near weighs what the dirt on the top of it weighs. Nobody knows what's underneath it. I've heard a theory that there's a spaceship underneath it.
There was copper and steel plated artifacts that depicted men in armor with shields and helmets.
Including right here at Cahokia, there were reported 2 giants with double rows of teeth and 6 fingers and 6 toes.
Extra vertebrae or extra ribs in their cage. These are different races of people. They're not just regular humans.
Definitely is a stone burial chamber, and there's a large body in it, bones. I would say 15 to 16 feet.
I saw different types of extraterrestrials here with the Native Americans.
The peoples of the Cahokia Mounds actually saw the Birdman as some kind of cosmic being and not a humanoid being.
So this Birdman was the last and the pure and the true of his kind.
So yes, there were rituals, or there were dances and celebrations, and people would dress up like the galactic beings that were visiting. But there were actual physical galactic beings that were visiting.